Chen is a regressor who returned from a future where demons had completely conquered the world. As the last survivor, he fought for years, finally taking out the Demon King in a massive suicidal explosion. But after a blinding flash, he wakes up back in his old college dorm, totally confused and wondering if this is the afterlife. Looking out the window and seeing students walking around outside, and that is the exact moment he realizes his impossible wish has actually come true. We are talking real regression here. He really traveled 10 years back into his past university days. Right then, a glowing hologram appears, informing Chen that his gluttony system has been fully integrated. Staring out the glass, he realizes he only has 3 years before the first demon lord, Wrath, descends on humanity. He remembers all too well that this monster was the spark that started the entire apocalypse. Wrath was the beast who tore open the gates of hell, letting the other demon lords pour into our world one by one. So Chen resolves to track down exactly where Wrath will spawn, and put him down before those gates even budge. Shaking off the dread, Chen focuses on the floating blue interface floating right beside him. It displays his raw stats clearly. He wonders if this is a game system, since nothing like this existed in his brutal past life. Back then, he only had his awakened power, a rare gift that only 1 in 10,000 people ever received. National Awakener University was built to train these gifted students, but during Chen's first run here, he completely failed to awaken and became a punching bag, which explains why he just woke up in this school infirmary. Out of nowhere, the system pops open a new window, displaying a lightning assassin class card. He instantly recognizes this as the exact combat class from his past life. Shocked, he wonders if he awakened way earlier this time. This regressor gets ready to test out his new cheat, but before he can switch classes, his loyal roommate Ma Long bursts in. Ma Long is just a weak E-rank flower chanter. Wearing fresh bandages on his cheek, he rushed over to check on Chen. Luckily, Ma Long can't see the floating panels, making Chen realize these screens are for his eyes only. His roommate looks him over, shocked to see that all of Chen's injuries are completely gone. He asks how a non-awakener is healing faster than someone who actually has powers. Chen remembers Ma Long well. His roommate did manage to awaken back in college, yet he remained incredibly weak and was brutally slaughtered just 3 days after the demon lord Wrath descended. The regressor smiles warmly, happy to see his old friend alive again. Ma Long then reminds him that their combat rank assessment is tomorrow and they desperately need to prepare. The poor guy feels terrible, assuming Chen is still powerless, but warns him that this test is absolutely critical for graduation. Walking down the bustling streets, Chen casually remarks that it has been ages since he saw this many living people, which completely creeps out his roommate. He knows that if he stands by and does nothing, everyone in this city is doomed to that same horrific end. To prevent that, he must train like a madman and level up fast. But there is a massive roadblock. Right now, the only way to gain experience and level up is by clearing monsters inside dangerous demon lairs. These lairs are entirely locked down by powerful guilds, which means low-rank outsiders like him stand 0 chance of getting into farm. Pulling up his stats, he wonders how his current power stacks up against other active awakeners. The authorities rank all awakeners from E rank at the bottom all the way to S class at the top. He knows almost every student on campus is stuck at E rank, with only elite players scraping into D rank. Glancing over at his best friend, he chuckles silently to himself. Let's be real, his power is already on another level. But right then, slam. A ball flies in, completely shattering poor Ma Long's glasses. It is none other than their school bully, Gong Chong, and his loyal lackey, the very same jerks who beat them senseless yesterday. Gong Chong sneers, why didn't the losers bring over some cold drinks when they knew the bosses were playing here? His roommate frantically apologizes and reaches for his wallet, but Chen grabs his arm and tells the bully, you are the one who needs to apologize. Seeing that smug face drags Chen right back into his darkest college memories. Back then, these jerks literally tried to drown him in a sink. Instead of feeling bad, they claimed they were just trying to force his awakening, only stopping when Chen finally blacked out. His roommate had rushed to help him up, but the second Gong Chong heard Chen speak back, he returned to beat him worse. Snapping back to reality, Chen decides it is time to teach these bullies a lesson they will never forget. Hearing the weakling talk back, Gong Chong and his lackey step forward, fully prepared to beat him into silence. Chen looks straight at Chung, knowing this jerk only bullies the weak because his older brother is the student council president. As the bully steps closer, other students crowd around already feeling pretty sorry for Chen, expecting another brutal beatdown. When Chung gets in his face and demands to know what he just said, Chen calmly tells him to back off for good. Absolutely furious, Chung completely snaps and throws a wild punch straight at his face. But this time, Chen easily raises his hand to block the strike, effortlessly shoving the bully back. The crowd goes dead silent. As far as they know, Chen is totally unawakened, yet he just caught a heavy punch like it was nothing. Chung loses his mind and charges again. Meanwhile, Chen just calmly switches his combat class to the electric assassin mode. Long stands there completely frozen. Meanwhile, Chung activates his indestructible demon armor and lunges forward with a heavy strike. But before he can even touch him, Chen blinks forward and blasts him away with a lightning-charged fist. You won't believe this. Our supposedly weak main character just sends the school bully flying with one single punch. Even after eating that massive blow, Chun refuses to quit. He screams at his lackeys to jump in and get some payback. But his lackeys are already shaking in their boots, totally terrified after seeing Chen's insane power. Chung drags himself up and charges Chen again, but once more, he gets absolutely crushed and swatted away like a fly. Seeing their boss get totally demolished, the lackeys realize they stand zero chance and instantly tuck tail and run. Long just stands there, watching it all unfold in complete shock. His jaw hits the floor as he struggles to comprehend how his weak roommate is suddenly this insanely overpowered. Chen, however, realizes that just like in his previous life, he can activate his assassin form whenever he needs it. Even at level 1, his base stats are huge. He can easily handle low-level awakeners, putting him at D-class minimum. But there is still one major mystery left unsolved. Why didn't defeating this guy trigger a level up? Curious, Chen steps forward as if to finish Chung off for good, making the panicked crowd hold their breath. Right at the last second, the student council's vice president, Ling Yu, steps in and commands Chen to stop. She points out that even though Chung started it, this beatdown is plenty. He's learned his lesson. She promises the bully won't dare trouble him again, and hearing this, Chen finally decides to let the matter slide. As he steps back, Chen finds it pretty strange how quickly the student council moved to protect a scumbag like Chung. Sure, Chen was just bluffing and had no real intention of taking the guy's life, but he knows trash like Chung must learn their lesson, or they'll just keep picking on the weak. With that, Chen walks off with his roommate. Watching from the shadows, the surviving lackeys whisper to each other that they should never, ever mess with Chen again. That night, Long tries explaining to their other roommates how Chen awakened as an insanely overpowered lightning assassin, but nobody believes him. Long keeps describing how their weak roommate completely destroyed Chung, but Shang Zuo, an E-rank nucleus mage, just treats it like a massive joke. Shang Zuo asks if Chen is really such a big deal now. Why is he still running around doing basic physical training? He points out that a truly powerful awakener has absolutely no use for old-school physical training anyway. Hearing this, their gamer roommate, Shang Yu, laughs it off, saying Long must have taken a pretty hard blow to the head. Honestly, we all know a roommate like this. Shang Zuo keeps talking down, claiming their whole dorm is full of bottom-tier losers who will never change. He boasts that he is easily the strongest of the four, while Long and Shang Yu are just useless support chanters. Flexing a bit, he tells himself there is simply no way Chen could ever become a legendary lightning assassin. Overflowing with unearned confidence, he genuinely hopes he might somehow rank up during their final graduation test tomorrow. Over at an E-rank dungeon, Student Council President Gong Ting wraps up his training session and walks out alongside Ling Yu. Spotting his younger brother waiting there, he asks what's wrong. Chung whines that as long as his attacker is still running free, he can't even sleep. He keeps clinging to his brother, begging him to get some sweet revenge. Gong Ting calmly promises to clean up his brother's mess. Later, sitting at the dining table, the vice president asks Gong Ting how he plans to handle this. Gong Ting simply asks her if this new kid is truly as powerful as his brother claims. Ling Yu reminds Gong Ting that there are fewer than 10 D-rank students in school, and Gong Ting has already recruited every last one. She adds that normal students don't even get access to high-level dungeons like he does, meaning no ordinary kid should ever be able to stand against him. Back outside, Chen keeps running like crazy, getting absolutely drenched in the heavy rain. He aims to run 20 full kilometers while carrying a heavy bag loaded with 100 kilos, basically doubling his own body weight. He knows this brutal basic training is key to boosting an awakener's physical limit to handle higher powers. While jogging, he remembers his beloved sister, who was his only surviving family. She was brutally killed when the Demon Lord unleashed his wrath upon humanity. Countless people perished in seconds, and she died right in front of him. Ever since that dark day, destroying this Demon King became his ultimate life mission. Chen knows the beast is growing stronger by the day, even with 3 years left before his arrival. Chen must grow faster, way faster, if he wants any hope of winning. Just then, his phone rings. It is Soon. Hearing her voice after so long completely freezes him. She happily explains that a big tournament kept her too busy to call him earlier. If she wins, their rent troubles might be solved. Hearing her cheerful chatter on the phone, Chen just quietly smiles. He swears a silent oath. He will protect her and give her a better life this time. After hanging up, he returns to training. He pushes through 3 more brutal laps before heading to the showers. Slowly, he feels himself adapting to this youthful body and its massive potential for quick growth. He still was for actually stoned, contemplating how to access those restricted demon layers that only the rich can enter, knowing he must slay beasts to level up. Lost in deep thought, He eventually drifts off and gets dragged straight into the gluttony system, landing in a bizarre world that feels like some weird dream. Meanwhile, back in reality, Long searches everywhere, wondering where his friend went. Inside this strange space, Chen stares at a massive, towering structure. But before he can even process it, a pack of E-rank death hounds spawns to attack him. Fearing he stumbled into a dangerous dungeon, Chen quickly swaps his character class. With monsters surrounding him completely, he decides to fight them first and figure things out later, easily slaughtering the weak hounds since they are no match for him, and quickly collects their dropped loot. Hitting level 2 instantly, he grins, realizing this secret zone might actually be a jackpot. A massive boss beast emerges, but Chen casually slices it apart. Slicing straight through, it triggers another level up. The massive experience points he gets from this boss are way higher than anything those normal monsters dropped. The dead boss suddenly glows with a prompt reading devourable, leaving him puzzled. Recalling his gluttony skill from earlier, he slowly extends his hand to test this mystery. Watch this. The corpse gets absorbed into a card. He can actually turn defeated monsters into usable classes. He freezes. This is the exact signature skill of Demon Lord Lan Yu. Carrying the ultimate power of a Demon Lord leaves him utterly shaken. While normal Awakeners are locked to just 1 or 2 classes, Chen can now hoard as many powerful classes as he wants. How did he get this insane power, and what is this dark tower before him? As he ponders this, a terrifying presence descends. A demon brandishing 2 S-rank blades steps out, and Chen instantly realizes he stands no chance in a fight. Fully knowing he is outmatched, Chen still summons a crackling lightning sword to fight for survival. Shockingly, it knows him. The terrifying demon actually calls out his name. They clash. Yet, it is incredibly obvious the monster is merely playing with its food. It deliberately avoids his vital spots, repeatedly knocking Chen down to his absolute physical limits before finally speaking to him. It promises to spare his life if he guards the tower. Chen instantly refuses, earning a brutal arm slash. The demon threatens to end him, explaining it only held back because Chen is the sole human to reach this spot. Given one last chance to submit, Chen refuses to let his hope die. Roaring in defiance, he completely ignores the danger and recklessly charges forward to strike the demon again. Throughout their clash, Chen studied its moves, spotting a 0.4-second delay before each swing. He can use that micro window to watch the monster's wrist angle and dodge the incoming attack flawlessly. Then, he spots it. A defenseless 0.2-second recovery pause. He aims right for the heart during that opening. Yet, even with this risky trick, a weak D rank like him cannot defeat an S rank master. His true plan? Just paralyze the monster long enough to secure an escape. Chen does just that, sprinting headlong toward the lone glimmer of light ahead, praying it is an exit. But the second he reaches it, the glow completely vanishes. The demon mocks him it was all just a fake, a total illusion. It explains this palace is not a demon lair, but praises Chen for spotting flaws in its attacks so fast. The creature reveals itself as the Purgatory Rakshasa, admitting Chen might actually be their savior. But when Chen takes a pretty close look at the demon, he gets a shock. He recognizes this exact form from his memories of the Demon Lord Lan Yu. It triggers a sudden flashback to the final battle before his time-travel journey. His opponent back then was no normal monster. It initially turned into a dragon. Then it kept shifting into other terrifying high-level beasts, wielding boiling magma, deadly toxic vines, and lightning far stronger than anything Chen could ever summon. Yet out of all those scary transformations, the one that truly stood out looked identical to the Rakshasa standing right before his eyes today. Now get this. Every form belonged to Demon King Lan Yu, and since Chen absorbed that very same strength, the Rakshasa before him is just the power of gluttony manifesting inside his own physical body. This clever deduction deeply impresses the creature, which calmly declares that Chen is genuinely worthy of inheriting the power of this whole dimension, leaving him completely puzzled by what that even means. A glowing golden void key materializes in its hand, the single, exclusive way to enter or exit the massive tower looming behind it. The demon explains that Demon King Lan Yu devoured countless mighty beasts. Rakshasa's sacred duty was guarding this tower containing the deadliest of those monsters. But now, it decides to hand the key over to Chen. It wants Chen to devour those demons, level up, and inherit his job. Confused, our hero asks why any demon would ever willingly help a mere human. The creature simply replies that even among demons, there are good forces and evil ones. One sadistic monster slaughtered its entire clan purely for sport, and ever since, it has been waiting for the perfect chance to exact some bloody revenge. Now, it believes it has finally found the savior who can grant that wish, telling Chen that a certain someone was totally right about him. Chen immediately asks who. Like some wise old sage, the beast cryptically responds that all of his answers are waiting patiently inside the giant tower. With its final breaths, it offers Chen every last drop of its remaining energy, demanding that he become the most powerful human on the face of the planet. Feasting on every wild beast sealed inside that tower is definitely not going to be easy. Each highly intelligent creature will be a massive threat. It issues one last warning: only a warrior with an insatiable hunger for raw strength deserves the purgatory Rakshasa's power. That extreme drive is exactly what he needs to wipe out every single demon king alive. With that, its body dissolves into a blazing sphere of energy for him to absorb. Instantly, Chen levels up 8 whole times and claims 2 of Rakshasa's dual swords. Accepting the quest, Chen vows to fulfill the fallen warrior's dying wish, unlocking gravity manipulation and the insane ability to absorb power from both dead humans and slain demons. The next morning, he slowly opens his eyes, waking up in his dorm room on what seems like a normal morning. But he instantly jumps when a loud voice echoes across the room. His roommates are already fully dressed, shouting at him to hurry up for school. Realizing his body feels completely fine, he wonders if everything he just went through was just a crazy dream. But his glowing status window proves otherwise. Check this out, he went from level 2 to level 10 overnight, and now he is left wondering about his new rank. Suddenly, his loud roommate starts teasing him, joking about how someone was bragging last night about becoming incredibly cool and crazy strong out of absolutely nowhere. Malong quietly peeks from across the room, acting completely innocent. Either way, his roommate dares him to back up his claims during today's upcoming ranking exam. After all, that test will officially determine who gets to keep the Dorm King title. Walking to school, the self-proclaimed Dorm King proudly explains to his friends how every single rank is split into 3 distinct tiers. So, even though they are all E ranks, he is a proud mid-tier, putting him way ahead of the bottom-barrel losers. He struts around acting totally superior because the power gap between those tiers is supposedly massive. Super fired up and overconfident, the guy brags that he feels so strong he must have jumped up a tier since their last evaluation. Extremely annoyed, Malong tells Chen to stop fooling around and go all out to secure a D rank today, hoping it will finally shut the loud mouth up. The boys arrive at school, where the entire student body is nervously gathering for the ranking ceremony. Suddenly, the school bullies strut in like they own the place, throwing out insults at anyone who dares look their way. Even the Dorm King's confident smile completely vanishes the second he spots them, but the bullies are losing their nerve too. They immediately bow down respectfully to Big Brother Chen without a second thought, making his roommates slowly realize that maybe everything Malong said was actually completely true. Our boy completely ignores the trash and just minds his own business. Suddenly, another student blocks his path. It is Jian, a student council officer who acts like the campus police, and he hands Chen a pretty polite warning. Turns out, the student council president personally sent him to teach the guy who dared touch his little brother a lesson. Right on cue, all of Chen's friends immediately scatter and hide. They are absolutely terrified of Jian, the enforcer who does the president's dirty work, while his roommates cannot understand why this D-rank monster is targeting Chen. Jian steps right into Chen's personal space. This loyal follower brags that his sharp sense of smell lets him sniff out exactly how strong a fighter is, and right now, he only smells a weak, pathetic loser. Amused by the insult, our boy fires back, and honestly, you have to love his confidence as Jian goes absolutely mental over being called a dog. But before an actual fight can break out, the giant pup's master orders him to stand down to avoid a public scene, having already found out his own little brother was the one who started the mess. Getting trashed was just the price for picking a fight with someone way out of his league. With those words, the president shoots him a glare sharper than any dagger. But our hero does not look intimidated at all. Right then, a professor loudly announces that the rank assessment ceremony is officially beginning. He directs all the nervous students to step forward the second their names get called out. Hearing that, the president tells his lapdog they are leaving, fully assuming Chen will not cause any more problems after this warning. Watching from above, a man curiously asks the vice president why she is attending this ranking ceremony. He wonders if some rookie has caught her eye, but she just smiles faintly, noting that this year should be pretty interesting. Soon, Shanghai's name is called, and the nervous Dorm King slowly steps inside. The entire vibe completely shifts on the other side, since the assessment happens one by one inside a creepy demon lair. Inside, a wired demon heart measures each awakener's rank and future potential by slowly absorbing their energy. Once they release their full power inside, the signal beams directly back to Earth, displaying their official assessment results. As it turns out, the Dorm King's final rank is exactly the same as before. Still, the testing professor looks pretty confused when the kid's potential score takes way longer than usual to show up. Malong stares intently at the rapidly shifting numbers. After all that heavy buildup, Shanghai's peak potential is shown to be just a C, and he walks out completely devastated, realizing his growth was all in his head. His buddies try to cheer him up, reminding him they are all in the same boat, completely stuck at E- rank with a C rank potential at best. Moments later, the president's lapdog struts out proudly, holding his lower D rank, but boasting the potential to climb all the way to rank A. Seeing nearly 10 other students easily hit D rank, Chen's roommates really start to lose all hope. Even the professors are genuinely shocked to see so many students hitting D rank today. It is incredibly rare for raw rookies without combat experience to push past E rank, so the hyped-up staff calls the next student. Now, it is the student council president carrying everyone's high expectations. Every single eye turns to Gong Ting, the genius who is already an active guild master, while our calm hero patiently waits for his own turn. Literally, everyone at the academy knows that Gong Ting was only a low D-rank student 2 years back. With the school's historical record sitting at a middle D rank, the crowd wonders if the president will finally shatter that glass ceiling. Deep inside the lair, the creepy demon heart slowly opens its eyes to his presence, though the president cannot unleash his entire power. Still, he is absolutely determined to go out with a massive bang at graduation, forever carving his name as the school's top legend. Look at their faces the second his potential glows gold. The professors blink in absolute disbelief. Their wild expectations are confirmed as Gong Ting's high D rank completely blows everyone away. On top of that, insane hype erupts through the crowd at the sight of the first S-rank potential in school history as his lackeys praise him non-stop. Even Chen's roommates burn with intense jealousy as they watch this new legend rise. The shocked professors quietly agree that this legendary news must be sent directly to the Academy's top administration immediately. They absolutely must treat this precious S-rank candidate with the highest level of care, ensuring he never leaves. Plus, he is currently the youngest student in the country to run an active guild, guaranteeing their academy dominates the news headlines. Watching from high above, Principal Yuan Long realizes that Vice President Ling Yu already knew about Chen's true potential. That is exactly why she came in person to watch the ceremony herself. But she quickly shakes things up, revealing that Chen wasn't the only student she came to watch today. Aside from the flashy president, there is someone else she finds far more intriguing. And right on cue, that exact student is called up. Jean gets a wild idea and starts taunting this urban legend, begging him not to end up as E-rank trash like his roommates. He laughs that they will become a total laughingstock if that happens, calling it a complete disgrace for them to even show up. Meanwhile, Long backs his friend up, boldly claiming he will blow everyone away. The crowd watches in absolute suspense. As Chen finally enters the demon lair, the demon heart immediately senses an overwhelming pressure approaching. Our hero knows that the best path for an awakener is joining a top-tier guild, and the only way to get in is by absolutely crushing this graduation combat assessment. For this test, candidates must recruit their own members to form a 10-person squad. The winning squad gets scouted directly by the country's legendary Imperial Guild, making the stakes of this trial crystal clear. Jean starts scouting teammates and introduces another low-tier D rank to his boss. He proudly declares that their squad is finally complete. Since they have got all the D ranks and the president's brother, he is convinced there is no way they lose first place. Think about how brutal this is. The strong naturally team up, leaving the weak to fend for themselves. It is a savage survival of the fittest setup where the weak are quickly thrown away. As the minutes tick by, Long starts getting anxious because the screen is not changing. The onlookers immediately assume that Chen is too pathetic for the machine to even recognize him. Jian turns to Ting, muttering that the rest of these kids are trash and they should stop wasting their time. But right as they turn to walk out, the screen flashes. A high D rank pops up, throwing the crowd into total chaos. Shock sweeps through the room as the president and the student council stare in utter disbelief at the screen. Moments later, the system detects another bizarre shift in the data. Chen is actually just testing the device, checking how his level 10 base stats translate in his normal human form. Seeing that D rank, he decides to switch to his weakest devoured class, the Infernal Death King. Instantly, his rank jumps from a high D to mid-C, leaving the council questioning if the machine is even working right. Even the on-site scientists are baffled, whispering about why the metrics keep fluctuating. They quickly begin to suspect that their precious machine might be completely broken. Right then, the demon heart goes unstable, sending the numbers haywire again. Chen spots this and swaps to a much stronger class, becoming the Purgatory Rakshasa. The demon heart literally begins to panic as a savage storm starts brewing outside the lair. Jian yells out in confusion, wondering if this storm is some cosmic sign that history is being rewritten, like their academy just birthed a god-tier monster. Suddenly, his potential flickers to an S rank, completely paralyzing the scientists and President Ting. Suddenly, a massive warning flashes on screen. The user's potential has completely overloaded the system, exceeding all measurable limits. You can practically see Jean's brain short-circuiting like a blue screen of death. His soul is literally leaving his body as the system begins to tear itself apart. Terrified of an explosion, the scientists rush forward to make sure the student is safe, but when they finally get inside, they freeze in disbelief. Where the mighty demon heart once beat, there is only a shriveled raisin left from extreme burnout. Looks like Chen might have terrified the poor thing to death. Regardless, he ends up eating it anyway, unlocking the ability to see anyone's rank and detect incoming threats. Stepping out of the lair, he smiles as everyone's power ranks pop up right before his eyes. But he immediately notices that President Ting is hiding his real potential. He is actually just a mediocre C- rank. The scientists shuffle out awkwardly, explaining that the demon heart literally had a heart attack from the stress, so they have to stop the testing for today. They write off Chen's wild results as a machine error, promising to send a report to the higher-ups for review. The rest of the students are told to come back tomorrow, when a brand new testing device will be ready for them. Heading back, Chen's roommates go wild, hyping him up like a straight-up legend after that insane stunt he pulled off in front of everyone. Chen clearly can't swallow his jealousy. He starts calling Chen a complete fraud, demanding payback for the broken machine while whining like a total sore loser. Right when Chen's about to lose his cool and delete this clown, Ting steps in to shut Jian down immediately. The president warns him to show some respect to their teammate, leaving Jian totally stunned. Ting then reaches out, inviting the newly revealed powerhouse to join his elite squad. He boldly promises that together, they'll crush every record and hit the highest score in history. Jian starts panicking in the back, realizing someone is getting kicked off the team to make room for Chen, which is going to cause massive trouble with the brothers. After all, landing a spot on Ting's squad basically guarantees you first place. So he can't help but wonder what makes Chen so damn special, especially since others couldn't even bribe their way onto the team, no matter how hard they tried. Swallowing his pride, Jian slowly welcomes Chen by placing a hesitant hand on his shoulder, but Chen instantly slaps it away, saying he has zero interest in joining them. Now check this out, that cold shoulder response leaves Jian sweating bullets, while Ting just watches in dead silence. Jian snaps, telling Chen he has no idea what he is throwing away since their squad is easily the strongest in the entire academy. Chen just turns around and walks off, stating he doesn't care, before calling their little group way too noisy to bother with. He warns them never to bother him again. Instantly, Jian boils with rage. Soon, gossip spreads like wildfire. Chen refused. Most students think he's planning to hog first place all to himself now that he's revealed his C rank, and everyone's loving the absolute drama unfolding here. Meanwhile, Chen's roommates are absolutely loving the humiliated looks plastered on Jian and Ting's faces after such a brutal public shutdown. Still, the president keeps his cool, telling Jian not to sweat it if the guy has other plans. Watching this unfold, the principal sighs in disappointment, having really hoped these powerhouses would team up. He wanted them working together to shatter some records, but Ling points out that things are way more entertaining like this. She explains that since Ting grew up rich and pampered, he'll definitely take this rejection as a straight-up declaration of war. She reminds the principal that their golden president isn't someone you want to cross once his massive pride gets wounded. Jian keeps complaining, claiming Chen only has a massive ego because some testing glitch labeled him a C rank, but Ting suggests the results might actually be real. He admits that even if it's highly unlikely, he simply can't allow anyone to threaten his spot at the top. Jian points out that Chen is likely just a regular kid with zero actual combat experience. Meanwhile, the student council are true elites who secretly grinded in a demon lair to get this strong, so he suggests teaching the insolent kid a proper lesson. Ting quickly cuts him off, asking if he honestly thinks their leader is petty enough to resort to that. Realizing his mistake, Jan quickly apologizes, but Ting just cancels their karaoke plans and tells him to deal with it on his own. He coldly adds that whatever Jian decides to do from here has absolutely nothing to do with him. Jian catches the hidden message instantly, and soon, a spy approaches him with an update, reporting that Chen has already left campus to head back home. Apparently, Chen didn't even stop to grab a bite, making this the perfect opportunity to ambush him. And you already know Jian sees this as the perfect chance to ambush Chen far away from any school rules. Crossing the street, Chen suddenly remembers a massive disaster from his past life. A top guild once tried clearing a demon lair in the St. He region, where they encountered a terrifying new monster named Wrath. That beast wiped out the entire elite squad without them landing a single blow, before escaping into the human world to unleash absolute chaos. Even with his memories of the event being pretty hazy, Chen is fully determined to track down that exact lair this time around. But to kickstart this plan, Chen needs serious cash, so he heads straight over to the Mythol Monster Exchange Center. He knows that in the near future, this very exchange will grow into the absolute biggest trading hub in the nation. In this world, an Awakener's true strength relies heavily on the quality of their weapons and gear. This exchange is the prime spot for trading those high-tier items, but Chen just sees it as a fast way to scrape up some quick capital for his real goals. Walking inside, he presents a handful of monster fangs to the local broker, who inspects them with immediate, deep suspicion. The broker demands to know how a regular student scored these, and Chen smoothly replies they're just drops from a monster he crushed earlier. Shocked, the broker admits he has honestly never laid eyes on this type of fang before. That's when his assistant steps forward, explaining that these actually belong to an E-class threat known as a Sanguine Beast. She explains those fangs are perfect for making an E-grade weapon or being ground down for alchemy, but the rude broker cuts her off, tossing the fang aside. He scoffs that a measly E-grade item is pretty much trash, bragging their shop is only for VIPs. They only cater to prestigious high-tier awakeners dealing in D-grade items or better, using that to excuse his own ignorance about the low-rank Fang. In his head, he grumbles about the lack of rich spenders. He sees absolutely no point in assisting a low-ranked student who cannot help him land a promotion. Dismissing Chen as a total waste of time, he dumps the transaction on his assistant Li and struts off, while Li politely hands over a thick envelope. She kindly asks if there is anything else he needs, while Chen peeks inside to find $18,000, plenty of cash to cover his rent without a worry. Then, he pulls out his glowing greatsword from the Purgatory Rakshasa, a masterpiece. The radiant weapon instantly locks Li's eyes to the blade, and although she has never seen anything like it, she guesses it is at least a B-grade treasure. An arrogant broker struts back over and laughs at her wild guess, claiming A-grade items fetch at least $1 million. Despite working here for years, he claims he has never actually seen an A-grade item in person. Right then, the shop owner enters and calmly states the weapon is neither A-grade nor B-grade, prompting the broker to instantly flatter his boss's brilliant eye. He smugly chimes in, agreeing that a simple student could never own something so incredibly valuable. But get ready because the boss reveals this weapon actually came from the Purgatory lands as an S-grade masterpiece. Hearing those words, they freeze, absolutely stunned. They cannot even process it. Qingji instantly grabs Chen's hand with a massive smile, welcoming him as an elite VIP guest before ushering him into the private room to request absolutely anything he desires. Chen smirks with satisfaction, knowing the guildmaster, Qingji, finally showed up exactly as he calculated. Once they get comfortable in the private room, the green-haired guild leader asks Chen for his selling price, and Chen's immediate demand of $1 million catches him completely off guard. He notes it could easily fetch tens of millions because of its extreme value, but Chen explains he just wants to use it as collateral for a quick $1 million loan. This leaves the master stunned, realizing Chen is incredibly sharp and wondering who he actually is. Chen adds that he will fully repay the principal within 30 days, followed by the interest the very next month. Before answering, the boss tells the girl to step outside so they can talk business in private. Once the door closes, Qingji mentions he knows Chen attends the elite university where graduation is right around the corner. He notes that the final graduation trial takes place in exactly 30 days and the grand prize is $1 million. Qingji looks at him directly, asking if he is absolutely certain he will take first place. The master realizes Chen is totally desperate for funds and would only make a wild bet like this as a last resort. So, he offers to hand over $1.5 million immediately with zero interest, extending his hand with a smile to welcome a brand new friendship. Chen is speechless, completely stunned. Qingji promises not to let a single word of their deal leak out, simply asking that Chen brings any future treasure straight to his guild first. Chen realizes this mastermind figured his entire plan out in seconds, yet chose to treat him with complete honesty. Now it makes total sense why this guy becomes such a massive big shot. Grasping his hand, Chen accepts, knowing he needs incredibly powerful allies if he ever hopes to take down the Demon Lord. Moments later, the contracts are signed and the funds land in his account, prompting the boss to ask if he needs a spare weapon for his big graduation trial. They have no S-rank gear, not one piece. Even so, they still have plenty of awesome A-rank equipment, but Chen casually tells him not to worry. But watch this. Chen casually summons a second massive sword right in front of them, leaving the entire room completely speechless before walking out. Right after he departs, the thrilled boss promotes the pink-haired assistant to supervisor on the spot for bringing in such a high-tier client. Before heading out, Chen realizes he forgot a crucial item and doubles back, and a few hours later, we find him waiting calmly at a bus stop. He remembers his past life, struggling hard to reach the top while people treated him like absolute garbage. Those back-to-back shifts were absolute brutal torture, forcing him and his sister to live in near-homeless conditions just to survive. Back then, his sister Yuan actually got accepted into her absolute dream university, but she chose to reject it, claiming the commute was too far from her brother, when in reality she just feared putting a crushing financial burden on him. Now back in the present, he wonders why she is running late and starts searching the bustling crowd. Right on cue, a familiar voice calls out, teasing him for being silly enough to look near the entrance instead of the exit. There is Yuan, dragging this massive suitcase behind her. She sighs that they are completely broke again because their crazy rent drained everything. But Chen just stands there like a statue. It has been 7 long years since he last saw her alive. She snaps at him to stop staring and grab her bags. When he does not budge, she waves her hand right in front of his face, trying to snap him out of his daze. Then, Chen suddenly lunges forward and pulls her into a tight, desperate hug, catching her completely off guard. After a few awkward seconds, she pokes his sides to wriggle free, scolding him for nearly squeezing the last breath out of her. She jokes that he is acting pretty weird lately, teasingly asking if his crush finally dumped him, but Chen just laughs it off. They start walking together while she keeps talking on and on about her exams. Still, Chen is incredibly happy just to hear her voice. He silently vows that he will never let any harm come to her in this life. Meanwhile, over in a dark, sketchy alley, a few thugs are waiting in the shadows. Once they confirm that Chen is heading straight their way, their ringleader, Jian, orders his crew to keep a low profile until the target arrives so they can jump him all at once. Grinning like a lunatic, he mutters that he is going to make Chen pay dearly for what he did. But one goon nervously asks if things might go too far and get them in serious trouble. Jian snarls that he originally just wanted to rough the kid up a bit, but their last clash really ticked him off. Remembering how Chen humiliated him, he commands his men to leave the beatdown to him, swearing to teach this punk an unforgettable lesson. Jian boasts about being the absolute best cloud assassin around, literally drools, imagining the look of total despair on his target's face. As Chen and Yuan walk home, she notes how weirdly he is behaving, wondering if he is just stressed about school. Laughing, she teases that a weak guy like him should not overthink things anyway. She brings up his own advice to just push forward and leave the rest up to fate. Wanting to cheer him up, she starts belt-singing a silly motivational song as they step into the quiet alley. Chen is actually quite surprised that she picked up on his heavy mood so fast. Of course, she still has no clue about his awakened powers or his massive new fortune. When he confidently insists he is totally fine, she rolls her eyes at his stubborn pride. Yuan shakes her head. Her brother is finally growing into a real man. Trailing them, a thug whispers to Jian that their target is with a girl. This gets Jian super excited, since this dead-end alley has zero security cameras to catch them. But Chen instantly senses their malicious aura, recognizing these exact same scumbags from the student council. Reaching into his pocket, he gently slips his wireless earbuds into Yuan's ears. He tells her to check out this awesome song he recently fell in love with. It catches her off guard since he almost never listens to music, but she goes along with it just to see what he likes. Chen spins around, glaring absolute daggers at the punks as they close in. With music blasting in Yuan's ears, the thugs charge, and here we go. Chen instantly switches over to his lightning class. He remembers those 7 agonizing years of losing his sister. Now that she is back, he is absolutely furious that these trash bags would dare touch her, rushing forward like a bolt of lightning. He delivers a brutal kick that sends the first thug flying, making the rest of them instantly break a nervous sweat. Chen charges his fist. 1, 2, 3 punches in a row, flattening the fourth with a brutal knee. One guy tries to swing, but Chen easily catches it. With zero effort, he snaps it like a piece of dry spaghetti. The guy screams in agony before catching a devastating punch right to his nose. Seeing his men get completely crushed, Jian freezes, shocked by Chen's insane strength. Chen does not slow down, throwing relentless punches left and right as he clears a path toward the cloud assassin. When Chen finally corners him, Jian desperately tries to tell himself that he is the best assassin around, yelling out that he absolutely cannot lose. Our hero quickly drags him back to reality, delivering a devastating punch that sends him flying. He charges forward to unleash a brutal combo, knocking several of Jian's teeth right out of his mouth. The cloud assassin rolls violently across the ground and crashes into a wall, looking up to see Chen looming over him like a demon. Chen looks down at the beaten Jian, reminding this trash that he already warned him to stay away. Glaring into his soul, he asks if this brainless piece of scum is too stupid to understand basic human speech. Beaten to a pulp, the arrogant assassin cannot feel his legs with half his bones completely shattered. Now he knows he messed with the wrong guy. Look at him begging with a pathetic apology. Chen promptly shuts him up, grabbing his collar and pressing a freezing cold dagger directly against his terrified face. Staring deep into Chen's cold eyes, the so-called top assassin finally sees the truth. There is zero hesitation to kill. This definitely is not the aura of a normal high school student. Jane cannot help but wonder what kind of absolute hell could turn a guy into a monster like Chen. Dripping with pure, freezing malice, Chen warns the broken boy to remember his words carefully if he wants to avoid another total nightmare. He will not hesitate to rip them apart if they ever try anything stupid again. As he delivers his final warning, he drops one last chilling condition. If they so much as step within a single mile of his sister, he will gladly hunt down and erase everyone close to them, one by one. Message delivered. He tosses the dagger aside and casually strolls back to Yuni's side before the background track even finishes playing. Meanwhile, his sister is totally overwhelmed. The sad, lonely lyrics of the track literally move her to tears. She weeps, heartbroken and completely confused over what her brother went through to change so drastically over the years. She even wonders if her support back then was just not enough. Wiping away her tears, she spins around, ready to give him a proper scolding, but she freezes mid-sentence the moment she spots the gift in his hand. The shiny, gold-plated pen she has always dreamed of owning is sitting right there in front of her eyes. Yuni flushes red with absolute excitement. She cannot believe her brother bought her the newest holographic magic pen, which costs more than their entire monthly rent. Her cute reaction instantly warms Chen's heart. Her face makes it obvious she does not want to return it, even if doing so is the responsible choice since they are way behind on their rent. Clenching his fist behind his back, Chen silently vows to protect his sister's smile in this life and get her into her dream school. Back at home, Uni happily spends hours tracing glowing holographic drawings in the air. Watching her, her big brother quietly eats some homemade ramen, glad she loves the gift. Still, the heavy reality of their situation soon kicks in, and she worries about him spending so much cash when next month's rent is not even covered. Hearing this, Chen flashes a proud smile and reveals that their rent for the entire year is already fully paid. He casually brags about some profitable business venture with a friend, but Uni is way too sharp and instantly shoots him a highly suspicious glare. Can you blame her? She is not buying this convenient story. Still, she decides not to push the issue. Honestly, she cannot even remember the last time her big brother laughed this openly and freely. Patting him gently on the shoulder, she makes one simple request. Whatever secret hustle he has got going on, he just needs to make sure he does not burn himself out. Meanwhile, at a quiet aquarium, Student Council President Ting shares some shocking news with his cousin. The city's best doctors say their top assassin is critically injured beyond recovery. Over half the bones in his entire body are completely shattered. Fighting Chen was already unexpected, but the horrifying state of his body after their clash is absolutely staggering. His cousin reacts with chilling indifference, only disappointed that the number of elite graduate students joining his team has now dropped. But the president is just as ruthless, brushing it off by saying he will perform better without some dead weight dragging him down. Just then, their uncle, who serves as the academy's director of employment, speaks up. Director Gong Xuan calmly delivers his official report regarding our hero's recent moves. His detailed investigation into the chaos at the ranking ceremony has finally concluded, and the results are completely undeniable. Chen genuinely ranks higher than the student council president himself. Talk about a reality check, this massive revelation catches him completely off guard. The director offers some stern advice, revealing that Ting's father personally requested an alliance vice chairman to evaluate his upcoming combat exam performance. Because of this, Ting must shine brighter than anyone else. But just in case he fails to secure the spotlight, the director proposes a backup plan. The green-haired girl, his uncle's favorite niece, will join his team to guarantee they secure first place. However, the arrogant council president flatly rejects the offer without a second thought. He haughtily claims that he did not even use a fraction of his true strength during the initial assessment. Blinded by his pure arrogance, President Ting assures them he will dominate the entire academy on his own. Back at the dorms, Chen washes off after a grueling daily 100-meter run with a heavily weighted backpack. He is completely locked in on his main goal, winning the $1 million prize in the upcoming graduation exam. This prize is his only real shot at fulfilling his deal with Chingy of the Methyl Guild and establishing a highly lucrative trade relationship. With only a few weeks left until the big exam, he crawls into bed, not to get some rest, but to keep up his brutal grind while sleeping. Sending his mind straight into his demonic lair, he finds Demon King Lu's massive void tower looming ahead. Zero hesitation, he strides right up the massive steps leading to the giant entrance. Before this, his Grovhound King assessment hit a pretty respectable mid-C rank, but his Abyssal Fiend class, its absolute raw power completely shattered the Academy's testing machine. Even that legendary demon heart couldn't even begin to measure how insane his potential really is. So now, there's only one obvious way left to test his remaining classes. He has to unlock the Void Tower and test their power directly on the field. Inside the gates, Chen wonders what crazy trial the tower has waiting for him. But the second he steps inside, his jaw hits the floor. We are talking instant teleportation to some bizarre, alien dimension. He is standing on top of a massive white planet floating in deep space. With his very first step, he drops to his knees, barely able to stand. In this fallen star waste, the gravity is 10 times heavier than back on Earth. Chen feels that brutal gravity pressing right down into his marrow. The gateway behind him vanishes, meaning he has to slay the boss just to escape. He has to adapt immediately before any local beasts decide to ambush him. But a prowling phantom lion nearby has no plans of giving him any break. With no options left, Chen instantly activates his lightning class. As the beast lunges, he barely manages to dodge, stabbing it right in the shoulder. It roars out in pure fury, but since he missed its vitals, the hit does very little damage. He soon realizes his swings are just as slow and awkward as his sluggish movements. In a flash, the phantom lion pins him down, snapping its jaws to finish him off. It is pretty clear these creatures have perfectly adapted to this extreme, crushing gravity. He lets the beast clamp onto his arm for a second, then quickly swaps to his Abyssal Fiend class, getting a totally different stat boost. Giving up some of his speed, he gets a huge spike in strength and stamina. This is perfect for raw, close-quarters combat. The transformation slams the aggressive predator down, completely turning the tide of the duel. Rakshas's gravity control is incredibly clutch right here. On a world with 10 times normal gravity, a triple multiplier hits like a literal truck. The monster roars, but Chen ruthlessly crushes it into the dirt. He collapses onto the ground, desperately gasping for some air. Gluttony pings him with a level up, and he learns that every class has a star rating. Those stars reveal exactly how much his combat stats jumped during a class swap. Right now, his Purgatory Rakshasa form is the highest rated option. Yet even with that perk, he still had to fight like hell against a B-rank beast. He clearly has a pretty long road ahead before reaching his full triple S potential. Making things worse, he is pretty annoyed that Gluttony won't let him absorb the fallen monster. And since no exit appeared, this definitely wasn't the final floor boss. Just then, a giant gate rumbles open right behind him. Dozens of glowing eyes glare out from the shadows. Talk about a brutal reality check. The grueling struggle against that single lion was nothing compared to this nightmare. A massive horde of B-rank monsters swarms out, clawing at him from every angle. Finally, he understands the terrifying warning Rakshasa gave him earlier. He was warned that this void tower was packed with vicious beasts, and that his journey would be paved with pure agony. But he was told to endure it all to adapt and grow much stronger. Chen suddenly snaps awake in bed, feeling like he just survived a living nightmare. His roommates are still fast asleep. They are totally clueless that he was just torn to pieces by monsters. He realizes that the Purgatory Void Tower is definitely no cheap shortcut to quick power. This is just the painful beginning of a long journey. A few weeks fly by. It is finally time for graduation, and tons of VIPs gather to watch. They announce new team rules requiring at least one high E-rank student in each party. With selection starting, the system displays everyone's rank publicly to help them find partners. The main board lists every single student from the highest rank to the lowest, making it easy to find recruits. But Malong spots something totally bizarre. Chen is completely dumbfounded when he finds his own name sitting dead last on the roster. Everyone stares directly at him, wondering how an elite talent could sit at the absolute bottom. Those jealous students immediately start talking trash. They are convinced his high rank was just a testing error. Still, even they can't deny his strength is real. Having him on their team would easily boost their scores. Council President Ting stays silent. Meanwhile, the crowd whispers about the fool who must regret rejecting the president's generous offer. It turns out the mastermind behind this trick is his own uncle, Gong Xuan. He figured nobody would invite Chen to a team, not after seeing him ranked at the very bottom. His plan is simple. If Chen can't even qualify, he won't get a chance to beat the president's team. A few hours earlier, the entire classroom practically begged President Ting. They desperately wanted to join his team. They tried their best to flatter him, but Chung shut them down, saying they could only add one more person. Now, all the other students have formed their own teams, leaving only the weakest dorm behind. Long says they tried asking everyone, but no one wants to join them. Since they only have 4 people right now, they can't even take part in the graduation test. He complains that it's pretty suspicious Chen's score was dropped to the lowest rank. It makes him completely unfit to participate. Since the rules require at least one higher rank, it really feels like their group was targeted on purpose. This graduation test is their only shot. It's the only way students can display their talent and get scouted by top-tier guilds. During the final test, the head count decides how many monsters they face. Having more people is actually not an advantage. That is why nobody wants anything to do with the weaker students. They would only be an extra burden. To make things worse, the 3 lowest-ranked students are all roommates. This leaves their dorm completely isolated from everyone else. Another student calls out to Zuo, telling him they are only missing one person. This guy tries to manipulate him. He surely doesn't want to fail the graduation test by sticking with his weak roommates. Chen realizes that if this keeps going, there is a high chance they will all be left out and won't even get to compete. However, the dorm king, Zuo, rejects the offer flat out. He will never abandon his roommates. The other team leaves mad, but he still warns them not to underestimate others. Scanning the student roster, Long announces that almost everyone has already formed their teams. They only need one more teammate, but absolutely nobody is willing to join them. Chen stares at the director. He realizes the man shares a last name with the student council president, immediately spotting the dirty tricks. Chen wonders if Gong Xuan actually thinks he's that big of a threat. Refusing to lose hope, he declares he will join the tournament and activates his lightning powers. Since these guys are showing their hatred so openly, he tells himself he doesn't need to hold back either. Releasing his energy, he steps forward, leaving the school officials completely stunned by his sudden display of raw power. Even his close roommates start to wonder what is actually going on. Chen recalls that all Awakener academies have a special rule to keep things competitive. Any student can challenge anyone at any given time. Even if it looks like blatant bragging, it's a proven way to show off strength and earn recognition. In situations like this, most people would simply refuse to fight. But Chen knows the student council president will never back down from a challenge. Think about it, if he takes down that blonde guy, everyone will be begging to join him. Suddenly, a girl appears at the door, calling out to ask if Chen still needs another teammate. She mentions that she wants to participate in this year's graduation test too. The vice president points out that she reached D rank way back in middle school, so she won't disappoint. His roommates go totally crazy. They wonder how on earth he managed to pull such a gorgeous girl onto his team. Chung and Ting both look completely lost. Meanwhile, the director nearly chokes on his water from the sheer shock. The crowd starts gossiping. They wonder why an exchange student wants to join the lowest-ranked team in the entire test. Nobody actually knows who she is. However, rumors suggest she hails from the legendary Saint Kingdom itself. Furious, the director snaps at her, stating that exchange students are strictly banned from taking the school's graduation test. He goes on to argue that Ling never took any local rank tests, nor has she proved her actual level, breaking all the rules. The principal suddenly teleports in and agrees that the director is right. Gong Xuan is completely shocked to see the old man. The principal then wonders aloud why Ling wants to join the test when her stay at the school is only temporary. Chen is caught off guard. He wonders how the principal just teleported when he is supposed to be a warrior class. The old man explains that her participating wouldn't be fair to others, and she simply plays along with his reasoning. Chen starts sweating as he realizes he can't even perceive the rank of these two powerhouses. Meanwhile, the director finally finds his voice to back the principal, declaring that a school simply cannot function without proper rules. The principal then suddenly changes his tone. The principal explains that this academy was built to give awakeners a proper learning space to achieve true greatness. Sure, this graduation exam is just a long-standing tradition, but it is easily the biggest milestone of their lives. He asks how the school will compensate students blocked from competing by these sudden rule changes. Cold sweat drips. The director panics, wondering if he is finally busted. He wonders if the principal is pulling strings just for Chen, but realizing it is not worth the fight, he backs down. Since the absolute top elites of the school have already teamed up, they should easily cruise to victory anyway. Bowing an apology, the director admits the new rules might have accidentally blocked some students from a fair chance to grow. To keep things completely fair, he announces that even lower-ranked squads and understaffed teams with under 5 members are allowed to join. The 4 roommates finally form their official squad and celebrate their shot at the exam. Watching from the back, the principal chuckles and tells Ling she seems pretty invested in Chen. On one side, the student council president proudly leads a team of top-tier elites. Meanwhile, Chen leads the academy's 3 absolute weakest underdogs. This makes the principal pretty curious about which cave they will pick and what their final score will be. The proctor then announces that all squad captains can now choose their target devil cave. Look at this, his tablet dings because a captain already chose, and everyone loses it when they see Chen's pick. His roommates immediately lose their minds and yell at him to change it, asking if he even realizes what he just did. But Chen stays completely silent, his eyes locked on the monitor. In this exam, teams enter a devil cave to earn points by slaying monsters, with extra bonuses for killing bosses and clearing quickly. The dungeon difficulty level then determines the final score multiplier. An F-rank dungeon gives up to 75 points, while an E-rank caps out at 100. The highest-scoring squad gets scouted by the prestigious Imperial Guild, and the top MVP wins $1,000,000. Meanwhile, in the selection room, students discuss how the highest score in history was 90 points, set by the current chief of that very guild. Even beating an E-rank dungeon requires a team to have at least 3 pretty solid D-rank fighters. This year, Ting's elite squad might actually break that legendary record, but then the screen dings, showing someone already locked in. A student gasps in disbelief when he sees Chen actually chose a D-rank dungeon. No one has ever cleared a D-rank dungeon before. I mean, is he completely insane or what? Long asks if he dropped on his head, while the dorm king completely flies off the handle at the screen. The nerd tries pleading with him, but Chen explains he thought pretty long and hard about this. Suddenly, the system dings as the student council president locks in the same D-rank cave. Ting's squad immediately accepts their leader's bold choice, officially locking them in. The entire classroom goes absolutely wild at the announcement, though Ting's team tries to play it cool. A blonde goth girl instantly roasts Chen, saying he is just trying to act tough for some cheap attention. Some bald kid scoffs that Chen's weak teammates will never agree to this suicide mission anyway. But as Long studies his friend's face, he realizes Chen is dead serious. He quietly wonders when his buddy got so incredibly bold and how much he has really changed. Making up his mind, the nerd slams the confirm button, choosing to trust his friend. Yo also hits the green button, feeling like he has absolutely nothing to lose. The dorm king gets pretty annoyed they all click before him, so he angrily jams his button down, too. And just like that, the system officially qualifies their misfit team for the exam. Looking at his roommates, Chen quietly apologizes, explaining he chose this deadly dungeon to claim the top spot. He admits he is dragging them all into his personal dream, but promises they are going to reach the top together. Hearing this, the student council president stands tall, declaring the peak belongs to him alone as Chen turns around to face him. Ting flares a terrifying heavy aura, declaring there can only be one absolute strongest student in this academy. Ling watches in genuine surprise, having never seen Ting get this emotional before. The rivalry between these two powerhouses is now completely out in the open. The principal feels quite proud watching these students show such fearless drive, but Ling remains pretty uneasy about Chen picking a D-rank cave, which is too much even for solo C-rank fighters. Sure, a D rank gives 150 points, but it is just too dangerous. To make matters worse, his current teammates are not even remotely geared for this place. The principal adds that with barely a single month left, it is almost impossible for them to level up enough in time. Still, he's keeping his hopes up. 2 weeks later, the training ground looks like a complete war zone, with everyone collapsed on the floor. Long asks why they are stuck doing brutal physical conditioning while other students get to use easy simulation training. Chen forced them through all kinds of exhausting exercises, leaving the entire group feeling pretty miserable. Chen explains that virtual simulations are actually totally useless. The moment you step into a real devil's cave for the first time, your mind goes completely blank, and only your raw survival instincts will keep you alive. These physical drills are meant to rebuild their stamina so they can move faster and react in a split second. Sure, the best way to learn is by clearing real dungeons, but for ordinary students, that's nothing more than a pipe dream. Only the elites get those privileges. On top of that, those elites do everything in their power to keep regular folks down, keeping their spot at the top secure. They hoard resources regular people could work an entire lifetime and never see. Frustrated, the dorm king asks what normal guys are even supposed to do. That's when Chen reveals his master plan. If they can somehow break into the Imperial Guild, they can tear down this broken system. This graduation exam is their single shot at actually blowing past those elites. Fired up by this dream, Chen promises to give this everything he has and guarantees that they will come out on top. Now watch. With only half a month left before the exam, our boy pushes his limits inside the Void Tower every single night. Taking down those phantom lions is pretty brutal, but he refuses to quit no matter how hard they beat him up. Just 5 days before the exam, his roommates are giving it their all. But our boy is operating on a completely different level. His insane training schedule makes normal heavy workouts look like a gentle warm-up. With only 2 days left, his rival is clearly grinding hard too. Yet Chen is somehow growing even faster. He can now comfortably battle an entire pack of those lions under crushing gravity. Blood drips down his face, but he has never looked more ready to win. When exam day finally arrives, a tiny guide drone hovers near the students. Our boys walk up wearing matching gear, looking incredibly sharp. The moment they strap on their wristbands, the exam is officially underway. Over at the entrance, the academy principal is warmly welcoming Gong Lin. This sharp-looking man is actually President Ting's father, the legendary co-founder of the elite Imperial Guild. The students literally cannot tear their eyes away, whispering and staring at this legendary powerhouse like he is some rare zoo animal. Everyone's curiosity spikes when they watch the principal and the guild co-founder personally step forward to welcome a sleek, fancy white limo. A red-haired man named Carl Candish calmly steps out onto the pavement. The crowd goes absolutely wild because everyone recognizes him as the vice chairman of the World Guild Alliance. A VIP of his status would normally never visit a basic academy. Inside the VIP lounge, the director briefs their high-profile guests, noting that 23 teams are tackling F-rank demon lairs. A few groups selected E-rank lairs, while only 2 brave teams dared to choose the D-rank lairs. The Alliance Secretary, Secret, looks pretty stunned that any of these rookie students would make such a suicidal choice. Normally, even veteran D-rank teams need serious preparation before entering a D-rank lair. She asks if the academy actually considered students' safety. Hearing her concern, the director calmly explains that every single student fully understood the risks before signing up. He warns that newly awakened fighters with 0 real combat experience typically struggle against even the weakest F-rank monsters. But the real threat is the lair boss, which possesses power far beyond any ordinary monster. Most squads fail because they simply cannot handle the boss, but things get even crazier inside E-rank lairs. Over there, even the grunt monsters are as tough as an F-rank boss, a brutal lesson most kids learn the hard way. The Alliance Secretary then asks if there is some kind of safety net for the students if things go sideways. The director promises her that the academy deeply values the safety of their top students. To protect them, an elite warrior from the Imperial Guild is stationed outside each entrance, ready to intervene at any moment. Plus, the wristbands can instantly teleport a student to safety the exact second they choose to forfeit, or if their life is actively threatened. Even with those precautions, the secretary still highly doubts any of these students are actually capable of clearing a D-rank lair. She quietly wonders how many minutes those foolish teams will even last inside. The director, meanwhile, expects those cocky E-rank kids to come crying out. But over in the icy D-rank dungeon, Chen's team is already shaking in their boots. Honestly, you'd be terrified too after seeing these nightmare creatures, which look like some bizarre, mutated mix of bats and monkeys. Chen quickly warns his squad that these beasts dive-bomb targets in the blink of an eye, so keep your guard up. Suddenly, a swarm of the ghost monkey bats swoops straight down at them. Somehow, the boys all manage to clumsily dodge the monster's lightning-fast ambush. While they are still celebrating after dodging a D-rank monster's attack, something even more shocking catches their attention. Our boy stands there totally relaxed with a lightning sword in his hand, completely surrounded by dead monsters at his feet. He warns his team to focus on staying alive first, since they are pretty weak, leaving all the rest to him. But look at this out of nowhere. Another ghost monkey bat lunges with crazy speed, almost catching them off guard. Su suddenly realizes that Chen is actually pushing them to train their speed and reflexes so they can survive brutal fights like this. Zuo-ju grits his teeth in frustration since he always bragged about being the dorm king, but now he has to rely on his random roommate. Meanwhile, Chen completely obliterates the remaining ghost monkeys. They rush him in massive waves, but he slices them down before they even realize what is happening. The dorm king Zuo-ju mutters that he always heard of Chen's crazy power from Malong, but this is his first time seeing it. To him, Chen does not look like some average student, but rather like a highly seasoned, battle-hardened soldier. As the fight rages on, the dorm king feels a little jealousy creeping in over Chen's rapidly growing reputation. Out of nowhere, another beast lunges from behind, and Zuo-ju barely manages to block the heavy strike. He grabs the monster's leg with his burning hands and yells at his teammates to stop being dead weight and get it together. After all, Chen is not the only one whose graduation is at risk, leaving his classmates totally shocked by his sudden drive. Inspired by the dorm king's stubborn attitude, Shangzhou casts his Vine Lock spell, successfully wrapping up the beast. But to his absolute shock, the monster breaks free immediately, kicking Zuo-ju right in the process. Ma Long casts his Frostbite Breeze spell, but it barely slows the beast down, forcing them to combine their powers instead. Combining their strength, they hold the monster down for a second and scream for the dorm king to take his shot. He fires a fully charged explosive flame bullet for a direct hit, but it barely leaves behind a few singed hairs. Firing even more fire bullets, nothing works, leaving both Shangzhou and Ma Long pushed straight to their absolute limits. The dorm king Zuo-ju decides he cannot hold back anymore. Gathering every ounce of his power, he unleashes a massive fire blast straight at the monster, causing a giant explosion. Once the smoke finally clears, only a burnt skeleton is left, and the drone confirms the kill on the Class D monster. All three of them collapse onto the hard ground, completely exhausted. And guess what? They are absolutely thrilled to defeat a D-Class beast on their own, quickly asking Chen if he saw their victory. The fallen beast leaves behind a single finger bone as loot, and Zuo-ju tries acting tough, claiming the fight was just a total piece of cake, though Chen congratulates them regardless. Soon, the drone announces that the entire Devil's Cave is cleared, and watching the feed live, Director Gong completely loses his mind. He simply cannot believe that these rookie students with zero real experience actually took down a D-rank threat. While the staff remains dead silent, Vice Chairman Candish's assistant calmly praises Chen for such an incredibly outstanding performance. He silently notes to himself that Chen's fierce aura reminds him quite a bit of an old friend. The Vice Chairman takes special note of Chen's name, which immediately triggers heavy worry in President Ting's father and the director. To divert the focus away from Chen, the director quickly redirects attention to the elite student council team in the other cave, noting that they have already reached the middle section. Praising their flawless synergy, the chairman's aide compares their skills to a pro guild raid team. Chairman Carl smiles at this, saying the graduates this year are pretty incredible compared to past classes. Director Gong whispers to himself that the real battle is only beginning and the best part is yet to come. Inside the dark, toxic vine cavern, the president's party gets ambushed by poisonous mushrooms popping up from everywhere. A girl plays her guitar to cast a decay spell while a star mage pulls the mushrooms together using attraction for a perfect combo. He signals the leader, and the president charges forward with his sword raised, ready to finish them off in style. With one lightning-fast slash, the president unleashes his blazing sky sword skill, completely obliterating the mushroom monsters. His teammates quickly realize these monsters are identical to the ones from their training sessions, meaning they already know exactly what to expect and can handle the fight effortlessly, with zero real pressure. They easily assume that the academy officials set up this entire test in their favor. Having this kind of backstage help makes things pretty effortless, and they immediately begin celebrating their win early. They are completely sure they will take first place this year without facing any real challenge. Reaching the final level of the Cloud Forest, the guys are shocked they even survived to see the boss. Right in the middle of a frozen wasteland, they spot a massive ghost ape casually eating its meal. Shanju, the dorm king, starts sweating just looking at this beast. One hit from that monster would probably kill him instantly. And look at this, that is when the beast locks its gaze right on the weakest guy. Malong lets out a terrified scream, and that noise is all it takes. The giant ape leaps straight at them with terrifying speed. The others scramble to save their own skins. But Chen, he just charges forward without holding back for a second. He flies straight at the giant beast's face with a heavy kick, following up with lightning-fast punches that launch it into the air. He finishes the clash by completely shredding the massive beast to absolute pieces. His friends are left staring in total shock. But Chen is just annoyed these low D-rank monsters barely give him any experience. Even the loot is pretty disappointing. But then, his teammates yell out in excitement that they found some massive mana stones. As it turns out, the giant ape had been hiding the glowing crystals inside a hollow tree trunk. The boys are totally amazed by this sudden treasure and immediately reach out to grab the crystals. Chen shouts for them to stop, but he is just a split second too late as a blinding light erupts from the tree. Within seconds, the entire clearing freezes over. Shanju, the dorm king, along with all the camera drones, are completely locked in solid ice. Back up in the VIP room, the live stream abruptly goes pitch black. The shady director smiles, looking like he planned this all along. He knew high-rank beasts would set traps, and it was only a matter of time before Chen and his rookie crew walked right in. Vice Chairman Cavendish frowns deeply, obviously worried about the students. The director fakes sighs about Chen failing and claims they have no choice but to pull the team out immediately. But the principal disagrees. He notes that the kids are not in real danger yet, since their wristbands auto-activate if their health drops too low, and none of them have quit. Only the kids get to decide when to tap out. Meanwhile, down in the icy dungeon, Ma Long is shivering in the freezing cold. Out of his entire group, Ma Long is the only one who did not end up completely frozen solid. This is because his specific character class has a naturally high resistance against ice-based magic. Hearing a terrifying laugh, Ma Long spots a skeleton ice monster staring him down. He instantly recognizes the creature from his books as the lord of this dungeon. He remembers that this cloud mage can easily control both defense and offense by manipulating snow and ice. He also remembers that this creature, known as the Bone King of Remains, loves slowly torturing its prey. Realizing the ice was a trap, Ma Long turns and runs without looking back. Let's be real here, Ma Long knows there is absolutely no way he can take this boss alone. He rushes back to break Chen free, but an ice shard impales his leg before he can even reach his friend. The Bone King laughs at his misery, as Ma Long's bracelet blares a warning that his leg has been completely pierced. The screen prompts him to quit the exam, but Ma Long refuses to give up. He drags himself forward to thaw Chen out before it is too late. Suddenly, another frozen shard drives right through his arm, stopping his desperate attempt to free Chen. The Bone King loves watching Ma Long suffer, as the bracelet warns of severe damage again. It alerts him that his arm is pierced and his heart rate is dangerously high, offering the option to quit yet again. But instead of quitting, Ma Long looks back on his past. For his whole life, he ran away from trouble the second things got hard, leaving him lagging behind everyone else. He remembers all the times people ignored, bullied, and mocked him. He and his friends have worked far too hard to get here to just give up now. Seeing this as his one shot to change his life, he musters his remaining strength, stands tall, and finally frees Chen. He stands tall as the Bone King unleashes a relentless storm of sharp icicles straight at him. Right as the attack lands, Ma Long lets out a loud roar, and Chen finally opens his eyes. The ice block shatters to pieces, and Chen bursts forward, sweeping Ma Long away from the danger in a single move. This sudden escape catches the Bone King completely off guard. Ma Long immediately realizes that Chen managed to smash through that ice prison entirely on his own. Chen thanks Ma Long for trying to save him and asks about his wounds with deep concern. Ma Long replies that the bleeding has stopped, so he will survive. He warns Chen that this monster is a cloud-type C-rank lord called the Bone King. Warning him that it is incredibly lethal, he adds they simply cannot afford to get frozen again if they expect to survive this. Turning back, they see the Bone King already charging up a massive cluster of ice shards. Ma Long stands frozen in shock, realizing a giant ice nuke is coming right for them before the bomb detonates, blinding everything in white. The monster starts laughing, but suddenly stops when it notices both boys are still alive after that devastating blast. Chen swaps his class to the Doomflame King and activates his Frost Body skill, giving him total immunity to cold damage. This transformation also boosts his cold resistance stats, completely turning the entire frozen battlefield to his advantage. The Bone King shrieks out in horror. Even Ma Long is completely lost as he stares at his friend, who was supposed to be a vault assassin, transforming into a cloud warrior instead. He wonders if Chen is one of those rare prodigies who can awaken two classes at once. Chen casually apologizes for misjudging the situation earlier, admitting his mistake dragged his friends into this dangerous fight. Then, he triggers another class change, shifting into an Abyssal Fiend. Drawing his Purgatory Warrior sword, he faces down the Bone King, fully intending to end the fight right here. Ma Long's jaw drops to the floor at the sight since Awakeners are normally born with just one class to master. Yet, there is a legendary, microscopic chance for an Awakener to possess two classes at the same time. Dual-class users are so exceptionally rare you can count them on one hand, making them treasures every top guild desperately wants to recruit. But that is not even the craziest part. Looking closer, Ma Long realizes Chen is using not one, not two, but three different classes. And here is the real kicker, every single one of those classes is god tier on its own. In his abyssal fiend form, Chen's raw combat stats skyrocket at an absolute insane rate. His massive physical strength launches him into the air like a rocket, charging straight at the boss with explosive momentum. The monster's smug grin vanishes the second it feels Chen's deadly aura as he slices through the boss like a hot knife through butter. This instantly pushes him to level 17, earning him a highly coveted rare loot drop. Staring at the shattered bones on the ground, Malong is still in complete shock that Chen just one-shot a C-rank boss. Chen casually reminds his stunned friend that the rest of their team is still frozen solid in ice. Malong instantly panics, realizing he completely forgot his teammates during that entire intense boss fight, rushing off to thaw them before they freeze to death. With his friend gone, Chen spots a unique system option to devour the defeated Frost Lich King. Since the coast is clear, he quickly absorbs the fallen boss, unlocking the Cloud Mage class. Since the massive ice attack completely blinded all the local cameras and drones, nobody on the outside will ever discover his secret. Then, out of nowhere, another surprise system notification flashes before his eyes. His Lightning Assassin class leveled up too, letting him add a star to boost his stats. While over at the Dank Zone, Gloomveen Grotto, the President's team is getting utterly crushed. No matter how fiercely they strike, this D-rank boss is just far too tough for these amateur awakeners. The desperate mage trying to hold the beast down with heavy chains is already on the verge of collapsing. On top of that, the Lightning Archer's attacks feel more like a gentle massage than actual damage to the boss. The massive beast easily flings them around like cheap action figures. This humiliation makes them question if all their academy training was totally pointless, having never faced this kind of raw power before. The gasping mage quickly realizes the council president is their only real hope of survival. Posing dramatically in the backline, the president charges up his ultimate move while receiving power buffs from his support mages. Once he gathers enough energy, he launches himself at the giant boss, brandishing his blazing sword. The sword pierces straight through the monster's core, erupting into a violent storm of fire that melts the creature from the inside out. His teammates erupt in cheers, celebrating the rise of a new legend whose name will go down in history as a drone nearby announces they cleared this grade D zone in 30 minutes. Totally fired up, the entire party is fully convinced they locked down first place. Believing no other group could possibly beat their record, they eagerly exit the lair, expecting to see their names shining at the top of the leaderboards. They walk back through corridors filled with broken students who gave up and chose to teleport out early. Most of them look deeply traumatized, still haunted by the terrifying beasts they had to face for the first time. Gong Ting's lackey spots see Chen and his squad resting off to the side. One look at the exhausted group says it all. They must have failed the second they went inside. The smug lackey walks over, mocking Si Chen for failing halfway through after talking so big. The loyal follower keeps on talking, but his boss shuts him up as the Alliance vice chairman approaches. The elegant executive claps slowly, offering his congratulations for their incredible run. As he steps closer, Gong Ting keeps a calm face while his followers practically shake with excitement to stand before one of the world's most powerful men, confidently reaching out for a handshake. But Carl Cavendish completely ignores the hand, walking right past him talk about an absolute shutdown. Humiliated in public, Gong Ting feels his pride shatter as the vice chairman loudly praises his rival, calling Si Chen a true legend. He grips Si Chen's shoulder and announces to everyone that Si Chen cleared a D-rank dungeon in just 20 minutes. Not even professional teams from his own elite guild have ever set a record like that. Both the council president and his lackey are left totally speechless, unable to comprehend how four nobodies beat their 10-man squad's time to clear a D-rank lair. Si Chen doesn't even blink. Getting praise from the country's most powerful man means absolutely nothing to him. Still, he wonders why such a heavy hitter personally showed up at this academy. Carl Cavendish calmly states that he will remember Si Chen's name. Then he turns his attention to Gong Lin, the man who invited him here. The vice chairman casually mentions that Gong Lin's son is talented too, offering a pretty weak compliment at best. This leaves a pretty bitter taste in the mouths of both the father and son. With those words, the vice chairman announces his departure, prompting the academy director to quickly step in and smooth things over. He announces the final results both top teams have tied. Because of this, everyone gets an official invitation to join the prestigious Imperial Guild. That news is pure music to his roommates. Thanks to him carrying them, they are set for life. Gong Ting's lackeys celebrate too, but the proud president himself is far from happy with this result. The director then adds that the captains will get management roles for their leadership, while the $1 million prize will be split evenly. Hearing that, both leaders look visibly surprised. Si Chen quietly worries that $500,000 won't be enough to pay off his massive debt. He needs to find another way to cover the rest of the cash and keep his promise to the Mithril Exchange Guild. But that worry quickly fades because Council President Gong Ting openly refuses to accept a simple tie. He boldly declares that an intense one-on-one duel must decide the real winner, since there can only be one champion. This sudden challenge is so incredibly shocking that it catches the attention of the director and even the vice chairman. Alarmed by his nephew's reckless move, the director urgently tries to talk him into accepting the tie, explaining it is the best possible outcome after his earlier public embarrassment. The director assumes Chen will easily reject this pointless duel, but Chen immediately accepts on one condition: you guessed it, the winner takes the entire $1 million prize. This unexpected twist is actually interesting enough to make the vice chairman pause and cancel his scheduled departure. With everything settled, Chen steps forward to face his rival directly, ready to settle this score once and for all. Sometime later, Drew tells Chen he expected a solid first-place finish, but a perfect score was totally beyond his expectations. Seeing Chen plastered all over the news, Drew feels his financial support was a wise choice, offering to cancel the $1.5 million debt as an investment. Unwilling to accept easy handouts, Chen firmly states that a debt is a debt and must be repaid in full. Chen announces he came to discuss two specific things, which immediately sparks Drew's interest. First, Chen requests a simple one-week extension on his repayment deadline. Since the graduation test ended in a tie, his prize money fell short by $500,000. He reveals his high-stakes plan to win the rest in a tiebreaker against Gong Ting. The duel will happen next week inside a dangerous, wild devil's cave right outside the academy. Drew is absolutely shocked by this reckless idea, questioning why two students would enter a wild dungeon. He warns Chen that it is way too dangerous without professional training, but unfazed, Chen tells him to relax, promising to bring back that $500,000. To make up for the extension, Chen promises to hand over all the monster materials he gathers from the cave as interest. Seeing the kid's total lack of fear, Drew sweats in disbelief. He silently admits to himself that this young man is truly special. Chen casually adds that there is a second, more important reason for his visit, and with a serious face, he bluntly drops his final piece of news. Whatever Chen reveals leaves Drew utterly frozen, his jaw literally hitting the floor in pure shock. Speechless, Drew stands up. He just stares at Chen. Later that afternoon at Qingwei Middle School, Chen's little sister Siyun celebrates finishing her finals while classmates whine about the brutal exam. Looking at her phone, she happily welcomes her summer break. Then she remembers today is her brother's big day, his crucial graduation trial. She looks at her phone. The lock screen, revealing a happy selfie of her and Chen. 4 years ago, an excited Chen burst into their home with his acceptance letter from the National Awakener University. He was thrilled. Elemental potential. So a young Siyun eagerly asked if he would become a legendary awakener like their parents. Brimming with hope, Chen promised to join a top guild and build them a beautiful life. He truly believed this new power would finally help him find out what really happened to their missing parents. Siyun cheered him on, confident her brother would become an absolute beast. But a painful, recent memory flashed by. Chen sat at his desk, heavy with worry because he was already a senior and still had not awakened any power. When he noticed Siyun watching him with worry, he quickly forced away his deep sadness. With a strained smile, he told her everything was perfect and he just had to work a bit harder. Now, Siyun reflects on that painful journey. Can you believe that? Even after working his tail off, he was the only one who failed. She knows how lonely he must have felt watching everyone else succeed while pretending to be fine just to protect her. Suddenly, her classmate Tong runs up to say hello. Tong runs up to ask if she heard the news about their university's 2 genius graduates. They led their teams to perfect scores, earning heavy praise from the vice chairman and making their county famous. Remembering that Siyun's brother goes there, Tong asks if he did well too. Siyun hesitates. Her heart sinks. Before she can even answer, a pink-haired classmate cuts in with a super flirty hello. The school idol, Jin Duan, smugly brags about booking a private room and asks if she is free to hang out tonight. Tong gasps, wondering when they became so close. Siyun is annoyed. She completely ignores him, spinning around and sprinting down the hallway at full speed. A totally baffled Tong wonders why she ran, while Jin Duan just watches her leave. Racing home, Siyun pictures her poor brother weeping in dark isolation, while everyone else celebrates. Desperate to comfort him, she plans to cook a massive feast to lift his spirits. Later that evening at their apartment, Siyun whips up a massive, mouth-watering spread featuring a steaming hot pot and tons of delicious side dishes. Chen is stunned by the feast, asking how she managed to cook so much delicious food so quickly. While Chen happily digs in, Siyun watches him in silence, her heart heavy with worry. Meanwhile, the TV starts broadcasting a special report on the university's graduation trial. Chen just keeps enjoying his dinner while the news anchor highlights a special visit from Vice Chairman Carl. Seeing him look so happy, don't you think she'd assume he's just masking his heartbreak? Then, the reporter announces a rare dual champion event with 2 students achieving absolute perfection. The anchor reveals that Vice Chairman Carl highly praised one of the top team leaders who got a perfect score, announcing the name Chen. Hearing that familiar name, Si-yoon stares at the screen in pure disbelief. The brother she thought was weeping over his failure is actually the god-tier genius everyone is praising. Inside a dark room, a bloody whip lies on the floor. A cold voice whispers. The stage is set. The cruel speaker is Gong Lin, standing over his badly battered son, Gong Ting. Clenching the heavy whip, Gong Lin roars that he had gathered a premium audience just to witness his son's absolute victory, slamming him for ruining the grand performance. Bleeding from raw wounds, Gong Ting gasps for air while his furious father reminds him that he embarrassingly tied with a literal nobody. He coldly barks. Gong Ting is done making his own choices. Revealing that he has already rigged the upcoming tiebreaker, Gong Lin watches his defeated son hang his head in shame as he promises to handle the matter personally. He vows to win, by any means necessary. He is completely obsessed with keeping the crown inside the Gong family. Meanwhile, back at the table, a stunned Si-yoon turns to her brother and asks if that Si-chen was really him. Si-chen keeps eating. He calmly nods. It is indeed him. Stunned, Si-yoon drops her spoon. It clatters loudly. Outside, a sudden flash of lightning mirrors her shock. She stares in absolute disbelief, slowly realizing her own brother just pulled off the ultimate miracle during his graduation assessment. It is unbelievable that he actually guided his entire squad to a flawless score and even earned personal praise from the legendary vice chairman of the Guild Alliance. A heavy, stunned silence falls over their dinner table. Swept up in her feelings, Si-yoon lowers her head and dries her tears, thinking of her silly brother. Crying tears of joy and pride, she smiles at Si-chen, knowing he finally made it. Meanwhile, on the graduation assessment night of June 17th, 2157, Vice Chairman Carl Cavendish relaxes in a private dining room eating some premium beef. Savoring each bite, he asks his companion for a quick update on her current mission. Ling Yu sits right across from him. She hands over a black folder packed with top-secret files on a target known as the Devourer. She tells Carl that their target left absolutely no trace this past year, warning him that their own eyes might be exposed. Completely unbothered, Carl praises her solid work and just tells her to enjoy her food first. Hesitating, Ling Yu mentions she has one more lead. She spotted a highly suspicious person who recently reached out to Carl, immediately grabbing his full attention. She explains that this suspect is gaining power at a rate that is completely abnormal. Inside the Devil Tower, a shirtless Si-chen crackles with golden sparks of electricity. He realizes he has already spent over 2 weeks on this first floor, wiping out almost every single monster. He has completely adapted to the floor's crushing 10 times gravity. His system shows his Lightning Assassin class at level 17 with heavily boosted stats. Following the graduation battle, his Lightning Assassin class hit 100% proficiency, rewarding him with a free stat point. This proves that actively using any class directly boosts its proficiency level. Flanked by the glowing holographic avatars of his 4 classes, Si-chen realizes none of them have hit their limits. He dumps his new point into speed, the absolute core stat for any assassin. The multiplier launches his speed to 740, matching an A-rank hunter. But even with this insane speed, he still finds himself stuck in a tense standoff with glowing purple phantom lionesses. His biggest obstacle is the floor's boss, a giant phantom lion king, whom he simply cannot seem to land a hit on. When 2 fierce lionesses spring forward, Si-chen quickly activates his Divine Flash skill, morphing into a bolt of golden lightning to counter them. He immediately spots the boss's weird ability, because whenever he targets an opening, the beast vanishes before he can strike. He carefully studies their battle formation. The beasts shift positions in a flash, keeping 2 up close to fight while 2 wait on standby. Meanwhile, the Lion King keeps a safe distance. Si-chen narrows his eyes in annoyance, realizing the boss refuses to clash directly while staring him down. Si-chen wonders what type of combat class this slippery Lion King uses. When a phantom lioness charges, Si-chen counters, driving a crackling bolt of lightning straight down its throat. Right before he can deliver the finishing strike, the beast vanishes in a bright flash of pink light, leaving him irritated. He realizes this annoying teleportation trick is not just for the boss. The lionesses can vanish whenever he tries to end them. A spatial portal opens, letting the targeted beast escape safely right back to the boss's side. Their annoying team strategy becomes crystal clear. The instant he stops to breathe, another beast strikes to bait his moves. Determined to shatter their coordination, Si-chen gathers his golden lightning and unleashes a lightning-fast barrage of sword slashes. Still, the beasts keep vanishing before his blades can make any contact. The pack coordinates perfectly, blinking back to their king whenever danger gets too close. These lionesses force Si-chen to constantly defend against their glowing claws. Every strike from Si-chen meets the exact same result. The moment one beast teleports to avoid damage, they swap roles through the portals, keeping a fully rested attacker on him. Chen keeps slashing at the incoming targets, but the cycle repeats as they vanish at the very split second of impact. The beasts keep up this endless cycle of attacks, dragging Chen into a highly draining battle. Drenched in sweat from the relentless pace, Chen glares at the boss, realizing the beast is deliberately dragging this out just to toy with him. Wait, why is he stubbornly trying to outrun teleportation with pure speed? As he leaps to dodge, he finally changes plans. Choosing to switch tactics, Chen pulls up his status menu and triggers a class change, wrapping his entire body in chilling blue energy. With frost coating his skin like a suit of heavy armor, he figures if the boss refuses to fight close, he does not need a melee class. This change turns his hair pure white and makes his eyes glow bright blue. He decides on a powerful mage class to freeze their slippery tactics. The system confirms his switch to the level 17 Cloud Mage, the Frostbone Skeleton King. Wearing a crown of solid ice, Chen prepares to unleash some heavy area of effect spells to freeze the entire room. Now wielding his level 17 Cloud Mage class, the Frostbone Skeleton King, Chen levitates high above the snowy ground, casting a massive area spell called Frost Spike. A heavy barrage of freezing ice spikes rains down, causing massive explosions that force the phantom lionesses to scatter and run. Watching the chaos from above, Chen notes that while mages are pretty weak up close, their long-range attacks completely dominate the field. He targets the Lion King next, dropping a highly concentrated wave of sharp ice spikes. Right before they impact, the beast uses its spatial ability to vanish, stepping out of a portal a safe distance away to easily dodge the strike. As the Lion King scrambles to regroup with his pack, a massive vortex of freezing energy suddenly swirls around them, trapping the pack. Chen notes his kill zone has officially shut down their hit-and-run tactics. Sensing extreme danger from above, the terrified Lion King looks up to see Chen building a giant sphere of cold energy, his Frost Blast Bomb. Chen coldly says there is nowhere left to hide, leaving the shocked beast to let out a desperate roar as he hurls the massive ice bomb down, exploding the ground. The massive impact completely covers the area in a blinding flash of white light and pure freezing energy. Once the light finally clears, the devastating power of his spell is shown, leaving the frozen Lion King and his pack locked inside jagged pillars of solid ice. With his targets completely trapped, here's where it gets awesome. Chen does a rapid class switch, summoning a glowing pink sword and confidently declaring this fight is finally over. Using his Stellar Warrior class, Chen leaps high toward the frozen beasts, unleashing a devastating downward strike called Triple Cataclysm. His glowing energy blade easily slices through the trapped pack, shattering their icy prisons and cutting them down in one sweep. The defeated beasts dissolve into dark mist, leaving Chen victorious as the system confirms his win. His player alias, Ash C, instantly levels up to 24, and the system rewards him with several valuable phantom bones and a rare heart. A new prompt flashes over the defeated Lion King, showing the boss monster is ready to be devoured by his gluttony. Chen stands over the fallen beast, gathering a bright light in his hand as he starts the absorption process. His eyes glow crimson as he focuses his energy on the carcass, wanting to see what evasive class the boss used against him. Activating his unique absorber ability, Chen pulls a swirling vortex of dark red energy from the dead beast into his fist. The raw energy forms a new system card in his palm, revealing the Lion King's Stellar Tamer class. The card details its highly annoying skills, like forcing contracts on other beasts and instantly teleporting them across the battlefield. Examining the Stellar Tamer card, Chen reflects that he has never seen a class like this, helping him understand why the boss avoided combat. He figures out the Lion King's base stats were simply too weak, forcing it to hide behind its teleporting minions all along. Reading over the card's skills, Chen admits that the Stellar Warp teleportation ability is incredibly powerful. He also finds the Stellar Pact ability pretty interesting, although it relies on terrifying the target into absolute submission. He realizes that to get a contracted beast of his own, he'll need to use a pretty aggressive and terrifying approach. Suddenly, the starry void all around him shatters into blinding white light, catching him off guard as his entire environment changes drastically. The illusion breaks completely, revealing the Dread Spire's true first floor, a vast, burning desert of rolling sand dunes. Staring at the dry wasteland and giant skeletons scattered across the sand, Chen wonders what disaster caused this destruction. A soft, crackling sound suddenly draws his eye. A vertical rift expands into a roaring, fiery portal, signaling that the gateway to the second floor is officially open. But just as he's about to step through, look at this. A hostile growl from the shadows makes him spin around. He quickly traces those glowing pink eyes to a massive rib cage buried deep in the sand. Hiding inside is a fluffy lion cub, growling fiercely despite being bound by glowing magic chains. Chen is genuinely surprised that one little cub survived. Assuming this is the final remaining enemy, he forms a lightning dagger in his hand and prepares to finish the job. But as he approaches the cub, he notices a crucial detail. Since the cub didn't vanish when the Lion King died, it must not be one of the boss' contracted minions. Looking closer at the heavy chains wrapped around the small creature, Chen wonders if the Lion King kept this cub imprisoned against its will. Staring down at the bound cub, Chen gives a highly intimidating glare, leaving the tiny creature completely terrified. Instead of attacking, Chen quickly swings his dagger to shatter the magical chains holding it captive. Freed from the magic chains, the little lion falls safely onto the warm sand. Chen turns away, calmly stating that he is giving the cub its freedom back. As he prepares to leave, he asks if this ruined place used to be its home. The small lion shakes off the dust and watches him closely. Looking on with deep sympathy, Chen remembers how painful it is to watch loved ones die and lose everything. The cub just stares as Chen admits he knows that exact pain. Heading toward the glowing portal, Chen tells the little guy to survive and keep moving forward before he climbs to the next floor. And check this out, a system screen pops up beside his face, offering a wild beast contract with a perfect 100% success rate. This contract also unlocks 2 powerful passive skills. Experience sharing boosts their stats, and he can even see through the cub's eyes during danger. Chen stops, completely caught off guard by this prompt. The white cub sits on the warm sand, looking up at him. The system labels it as Lion King Leo and asks if he accepts the beast's direct contract request. Chen looks at the little lion cub. "Lion King Leo, do you really want to go with me?" he asks. The cub responds with a brave, determined roar. Standing right before the blazing flames, Chen warns him about climbing the dread spire where monsters only get far more brutal. He warns the little guy that this path could kill him, demanding final proof. Leo answers with a massive, fearless roar. Seeing his resolve, Chen accepts the pact. A pink star glows in their eyes. The system announces that the contract has been accepted, officially binding their souls together. He sees the Stellar Tamer details showing the Stellar Pact ability. It allows forced contracts, but if the master dies, the beast perishes too. 2 passive skills unlock. The first shares experience to boost stats, and the second shares the cub's vision in danger. Plus, Stellar Warp unlocks, letting him summon or teleport to Leo instantly. With their pact finalized, Chen smiles and says it is time to move out. The Hyper Cub runs beside him. Walking up to the flames, Chen gives Leo a single rule. In battle, your only job is to survive. Then, Chen steps through. They step out onto a jagged cliff, overlooking a massive underground world filled with boiling lava and erupting fire pillars. Sweating bullets, Chen complains about the insane heat, feeling like he might literally melt. Meanwhile, little Leo peers over a massive lava trench. He has no idea what is coming, but a sudden splash startles the cub. A flash of blinding light explodes. Chen's survival instincts scream, his eyes flashing red as he senses a terrifying presence. Without warning, a devastatingly fast beam of light pierces straight through his chest. Wait, what? Chen suddenly bolts upright in his real-world bed, gasping for breath while frantically clutching his uninjured chest. That nightmare-level power is insane. Still shaking from the phantom shock of dying, he wonders what kind of absolute beast rules the tower's second floor. His panic is cut short when his sister, Si-yoon, calls out that breakfast is ready. Soon, Chen is staring at a massive feast of ramen and fruit. As Si-yoon packs her school bag, he says she may weigh too much food. Eating toast, Si-yoon tells him to wash dishes and hang the wet laundry. Seeing her slip on her sneakers, Chen asks where she's running off to during summer break. She reveals she got a new part-time job. Feeling worried, Chen reminds her that he is making plenty of cash now and she does not need to work. Si-yoon smiles, saying with his success, she refuses to lag behind. She says sitting around doing nothing sounds incredibly boring, reminds him to finish his chores, and cheerfully heads out. Doing exactly as he was told, Chen cleans up the kitchen and hangs up the laundry, smiling at how she has always been like this. Looking at their framed photo, he admires how tough she has always been. Honestly, even though she is younger, he often feels like she is the mature one. Soon, his mind drifts back to his heavy duties. Once things are fully settled at his university, he will have to face the terrifying demon lord, Wrath. That brutal battle will keep him far away from Si-yoon. Thinking of her warm smile, she is the one person he can never stop worrying about. Suddenly, a wild idea hits him. He genuinely wonders if a certain experiment will actually work. His eyes glow bright pink as he channels his power. A spatial portal opens up, and little Lion King Leo tumbles right out onto the floor. Chen just stares in absolute disbelief. He actually pulled his legendary contracted beast straight out of the tower and into the real world. The hyperactive cub quickly makes himself at home, playfully tearing up a whole tissue box. Pulling up his holographic system, Chen makes a plan. He can order Leo to secretly guard his sister while he is away. Thanks to his special passive skills, if she ever got into danger, he would instantly share the beast's vision and teleport straight to her rescue, remembering how much Si-yoon loved petting stray animals. Watching the tiny beast, Si-yoon smiled, pretty sure that gifting her a little lion cub was the perfect move. Suddenly, a loud crash from the kitchen cut his thoughts short, making him rush over while hoping Si-yoon would actually like her new pet. His confidence totally vanished the moment he saw the kitchen, where the cub was breaking plates and gnawing on the faucet. Out in the city at sunset, a sudden blast of dark energy destroys a camera on a pole, leaving the entire area unmonitored. Beneath it, a heavily bleeding man clutches an ice blade, backing away in sheer terror. He begs his unseen attacker as a massive, horrifying, demonic claw manifests right in front of him. The dark claw lunges forward, brutally impaling the poor guy through the chest before glowing red tendrils lift him high into the air. A creepy system interface pops up, showing a loading bar that coldly reveals the poor guy is being devoured. Meanwhile, an incredibly exhausted Si-yoon is walking back home, carrying bags from her tiring summer job. She sighs in relief, her poor feet completely dead after the crazy bubble tea rush, taking her usual shortcut through a dark underpass. She has no idea she's walking right under that broken camera, but as her footsteps echo, a sudden presence makes her freeze. She spins around in shock as a cold voice from the deep shadows announces that she has finally arrived. Standing in the dark underpass, Jin-duckson holds a massive bouquet of red roses, clearly showing he has been waiting there for quite a while. He steps right into her path, offering the fancy flowers. He complains that she ran off too quickly to hear his invite, claiming he booked the entire top floor of Purple Peak Tower for them tonight, but Si-yoon just stares at the roses and asks how he even got her address. Jin-duckson proudly brags about his father being the city hospital director, making simple details like that incredibly easy to find, but an unimpressed Si-yoon coldly replies that they belong in totally different worlds. She warns him never to contact her again and walks away, but an annoyed Jin-duckson steps forward and grabs her arm to stop her. He whines about all the effort it took to secure the reservation, angrily asking if she seriously plans to stand him up and humiliate him like this. Si-yoon glares right back, saying that she doesn't care about his reputation and calls him a total creep for stalking her all the way home. Being called a creep completely triggers Jin-duckson, and he instantly loses his cool. With a menacing look, he threatens her, warning that she has no idea who she is dealing with or what he could do. But check this out, before he can even finish his threat, Si-yoon drops a massive headbutt right on his face. The impact sends him crashing down, howling in pain while clutching his bleeding nose, as an angry Si-yoon stands over him and tells him to go get his head checked at his dad's hospital. Fuming, she stomps away, warning him to stay far away while complaining that his pathetic stunt completely ruined her entire evening. Later that night at her apartment, a warm light from her family's window stands out in stark contrast to the dark, creepy alleyway. The moment she steps inside, Si-yoon gets surprised with the adorable white lion cub, Leo, and her eyes instantly light up with pure love. Snuggling the tiny creature, she eagerly asks her brother, Si-yen, where on Earth he managed to find such an incredibly cute little beast. Si-yen introduces the little cub as Leo, explaining he is a special gift meant just for her. Overjoyed, she can't believe she actually gets to keep a real baby lion, but as Leo purrs in her arms, Si-yoon spots a pretty weird detail. Naturally, she wonders why this tiny cub already has a full mane, which honestly makes zero sense for a baby lion. Quickly ignoring the mystery, she decides she will get him registered first thing in the morning. Watching them bond, Si-yen feels a wave of relief, knowing his sister is safe with this beast around while he is gone, until a sudden loud chime from his phone interrupts his thoughts, drawing his gaze to the glowing screen. A satisfied smile spreads across his face as he reads an official email from the Guild's Supervision Bureau. His application is officially approved, and a relieved Si-yen thinks that everything is finally going exactly according to his plan. With his family safe and the paperwork done, a confident Si-yen is ready for his next massive hurdle, the graduation tiebreaker duel against Gong Ting in 6 days. 6 days later, the highly anticipated tiebreaker exam finally begins deep within the city outskirts at Greenlight Forest. Director Gong Xuan tells both competing candidates to pay close attention as he lays out the exact exam rules. Standing right before a glowing green portal under a massive tree, Gong Xuan announces the school chose this dangerous wild dungeon for their tiebreaker. He adds that recent surveys officially rate this dungeon as dank. He confirms that both Si-yen and Gong Ting will enter simultaneously and take their exam within the exact same dungeon. He warns them that wild dungeons are completely unmapped and far more dangerous than standard school dungeons, which is why 3 senior guild members from Easternia will join them as examiners. They are heading into the dungeon with the students to keep them safe and evaluate their skills. The lineup features Ivan of the Imperial Guild, Yasmin from the Divine Eye Guild, and Satowoda representing the Silver Guild. Gong Shan makes it clear that the final grades depend entirely on what these pro-examiners see. Meanwhile, a live broadcast of the exam feeds directly into a dark academy VIP lounge. Watching the monitor, Gong Lin smirks. He quietly hopes the 3 proctors execute their backroom deal flawlessly, leaving absolutely no evidence behind. Right there beside him, Principal Yuan Long asks Vice Chairman Carl Cavendish why he is still hanging around the academy when his official schedule wrapped up 2 days ago. Carl just laughs. He watches Si Chen and Gong Ting. He claims nothing out there is more entertaining than this, admitting he has not seen two absolute monsters clash in years and refuses to walk away. Gesturing toward the swirling green portal, Director Gong Shan loudly announces the official launch of the graduation tiebreaker exam. No holding back. The duel between Si Chen and Gong Ting begins. Stepping forward without a second thought, both rivals plunge into the glowing rift. Si Chen emerges on the other side, glowing green energy clinging to his clothes, scanning the area. He finds himself in a gloomy, desolate wasteland crowded with rotting trees. Right behind them, the examiners step through and scan the creepy surroundings. Yasmin suspects this is a flower class dungeon. Standing next to her, Ivan offers Sato Woda a cigarette, but the veteran quickly shushes him because the camera drone is currently recording. Out of nowhere, a high-pitched ringing echoes inside Si Chen's head. He watches in absolute shock as a flashing red hologram suddenly projects from his chest, washing his face in a bloody glow. His system screen blares a massive warning, indicating a highly lethal beast is lurking extremely close. He is absolutely stunned. Si Chen's demon heart has never reacted like this before. Almost instantly, the warning screen flickers away, leaving Si Chen wondering if a high-tier monster is actually hiding inside a low-level dungeon like this. He and Gong Ting push deeper down a wasteland trail surrounded by giant twisted roots and dead, gnarly branches. Gong Ting confidently takes the lead, carving a path through the heavy mist while Si Chen casually follows behind. Watching from an overlooking cliff, Yasmin points out how thick the fog is. Beside her, Sato Wada tells the team to keep their guards up and stay focused on the students. Then out of nowhere, the ground violently cracks open right in front of them. A hideous, giant bug rises from the dirt, which the system identifies as a D-rank poison cage ant, a dangerous flower archer class. Moving like lightning, Gong Ting unsheathes his katana and aggressively rushes the massive insect head-on. What a start! Ivan praises the young man's incredible reflexes. But Sato Wada warns him that real dungeon beasts are much faster, meaner, and far more deceptive than academy practice dummies. The massive ant opens fire with a hail of glowing green acid spit, but Gong Ting easily parries every single shot with his blade. Moving with absolute grace, Gong Ting leaps high into the air and cleanly slices the giant bug in half. Torso split open, the severed monster crashes heavily into the dirt. Gong Ting's blade erupts in a blinding golden aura right before he drives the weapon deep into the dying creature. Triggering his nuclear warrior path, Gong Ting unleashes a deadly blast that blows the beast to pieces in a fiery explosion. Keeping watch from above, Yasmin brings up a glowing green 10 on her tactical wrist screen. She hands Gong Ting a perfect score for his combat reflexes, highlighting how easily he handled the toxic projectiles while staying on the offensive. Ivan flashes a perfect 10 as well, highly impressed by his combat strategy. He points out that taking out the monster's poison glands first completely neutralized its threat level. Sato Wada proudly holds up his own 10, giving top marks for raw execution and that incredibly clean, decisive finish. While Gong Ting stands with his glowing sword, the proctors praise his flawless positioning and high-level execution. They all agree that keeping such a level head against a feral beast is insanely impressive for a student. But check this guy out. Si Chen is just casually strolling around with his hands stuffed deep inside his pockets. Sato Wada harshly calls him out for standing there doing nothing, marking down his lazy attitude as a total disaster. Gong Ting stays quiet, just staring at his rival's insanely relaxed and totally unbothered posture. In the private VIP room, Carl Cavendish and Principal Yuan Long closely study Si Chen. Carl casually asks the principal what he thinks the kid is actually trying to achieve out there in the fog. Principal Yuan Long smiles knowingly, deducing that Su Chen is actively hunting for a very specific target. Deep in the dungeon, Su Chen pauses, tapping his foot against some massive tree roots. He quickly realizes this central spot is the perfect place to wipe out the entire threat in one sweeping move. Golden lightning crackles. It bursts to life, forming a jagged dagger. He found his target. Su Chen ruthlessly plunges the lightning blade straight into the roots. The strike sends a massive shockwave of golden lightning surging deep underground, violently tearing the earth apart. A hidden nest of poison cage ants gets blasted straight up, completely engulfed and vaporized by the explosive electrical energy. Sweating profusely, the examiners suddenly realize that Su Chen deliberately targeted the monster nest. They question his sanity, terrified that provoking a D-rank monster horde will get them killed as they watch the chaotic explosion. Gong Ting's composure completely cracks, leaving him visibly shocked, wondering what Su Chen plans to do next. Gathering momentum, Su Chen channels electricity into his boots. Then, he forcefully launches upward. Now watch this. He taps into his lightning assassin class, activating his Flash God skill to rocket skyward in a blinding golden streak. Moving at absolutely incomprehensible speeds, Chen intercepts the swarm of poison cage ants launched by his explosive trap. He strikes. A rapid, relentless flurry of slashes shreds the airborne monsters. Darting between targets midair, he leaves behind a massive, zigzagging web of golden lightning. Systematic destruction. He shreds the entire cluster in seconds before gracefully landing. As Chen touches down, the severed remains of those D-rank monsters rain from the sky while golden lightning slowly fades from his hands. Up on the ridge, the three examiners are completely dumbfounded, and Sato Wo sweats in disbelief, struggling to process the crazy spectacle. Casual as ever, Chen brushes the green monster blood off his jacket. The examiners realize in utter shock that his official school report lists him as a mere E-rank awakener. They find it absolutely absurd that an E-rank student can effortlessly wipe out a massive swarm of D-rank monsters. Since they cannot possibly justify grading this flawless performance poorly, the corrupt examiners begin whispering frantically among themselves. Desperate to fulfill their corrupt deal to sabotage Chen, they try inventing unfair excuses, like calling his approach reckless or penalizing his technique. Inside the high-tech VIP observation room, Carl erupts into boisterous laughter, praising Principal Yuan Long for accurately predicting that Chen was hiding his true potential. He notes how spectacular it is to witness such an intense show when this exam has barely even started. Carl eagerly anticipates how Gong Ting will respond to this overwhelming power, while behind him, Gong Lin remains dead silent, his face darkening as he watches the monitors. Suddenly, the live feed on the massive monitor is torn apart by heavy digital static. The screen glitches wildly before going completely blank, replaced by a stark red warning that indicates a lost signal. Principal Yuan Long furrows his brow, staring at the dead screen and demanding to know why the transmission is cutting out yet again. Alarms blare. Rapid warning beeps suddenly erupt from the monitoring equipment. A technician frantically types at his console as the system flashes a critical alert about a severe signal anomaly. The diagnostic screen shows the dungeon's official D-rank classification violently glitching into an unreadable question mark. Total blackout. Internal communication signal strength crashes to absolute zero. The technician stares down at the corrupted data in pure shock. Director Gongguan breaks into a cold sweat. What on earth is actually happening inside that dungeon right now? Their panic peaks when the portal's swirling green energy suddenly begins to dissipate. The glowing portal vanishes completely, leaving behind an ordinary empty cave that traps the candidates inside. Deep within the isolated dungeon, a sinister, eerie melody begins echoing through the gloom, physically manifesting as floating, glowing pink and green musical notes. Chen freezes, listening intently to the eerie tune, instantly recognizing the terrifying presence hidden within the melody. It is the voice of the Demon King, Wrath. Outside the dungeon at 4 p.m., the cave entrance suddenly seals itself, morphing into a solid rock face. Director Gongguan panics, demanding to know how the gateway vanished. A technician reports a complete loss of connection, explaining that the equipment threw a series of critical signal errors moments ago. Sweating with anxiety, he orders his staff to get command on the line immediately. Total disaster. He fears a catastrophe has just unfolded inside that isolated dungeon. Meanwhile, deep inside the dungeon, an eerie melody physically manifests as floating musical notes. Chen and Gong Ting pause, taking notice of the bizarre phenomenon surrounding them. The examiners are just as baffled by the sudden change in the air. Yasmin Kai asks if anyone else hears it, and Sato agrees it sounds like some bizarre melody. Feeling the heavy, rhythmic thuds of the beat, Chen freezes in dread, instantly recognizing the terrifying voice of the Demon King, Wrath. He desperately wonders why Wrath is even here in this low-level dungeon. The Demon King shouldn't appear for another 3 years, but suddenly, the Demon Heart system floods Chen with extreme danger warnings. He tenses up as his screen practically screams at him about a highly lethal threat nearby. Massive thuds rattle the floor beneath his feet, and Chen realizes something huge is standing directly behind him in the fog. A creepy laugh echoes through the dark cave as a massive silhouette begins approaching through the dense fog. Shaking under the pressure, Sato desperately wonders what kind of absolute monster is lurking in that fog. Two glowing eyes pierce the dark, and a grotesque, humanoid mantis monster steps out, radiating an insane amount of dark energy. Glaring down at the group, the beast sneers, "Welcome, humans. You have walked right into my trap." Stunned to hear the monster speak, Sato knows that a talking beast has to be at least a high-tier C-rank monster, and he frantically questions how something this strong is inside a simple D-rank dungeon. Fearing the high-level beast will massacre the students, Sato summons his massive glowing axe and charges forward, telling the group to get behind him for cover. But wait, before Sato can even strike, the mantis demon counters with insane speed. With a single brutal slice of its scythe, it cleanly severs Sato's entire arm, leaving the other examiners frozen in absolute horror. The mantis demon instantly vanishes, reappearing right behind Gong Ting with its bloody weapon raised. It sneers at the group, telling them to just curl up and accept their fate. With a sickening thud, the monster drives its blade right through Gong Ting's shoulder and chest, cold-bloodedly telling him to die. Despite being impaled, Gong Ting just grits his teeth through the agonizing pain. Instead of collapsing, a wild, crazed grin slowly spreads across his face. Using the close distance to his advantage, Gong Ting swings his flaming golden sword and chops off the monster's scythe arm, leaving the beast totally shocked. Without missing a single beat, Gong Ting follows up with a massive mid-air kick that sends the crippled, bleeding beast crashing backward across the rocky ground. Completely ignoring his brutal chest wound, Gong Ting glares ahead with glowing eyes. He proudly declares that since the Overlord drew first blood, this kill belongs to him by right of combat priority, and he fiercely warns Chen not to dare interfere. Chen watches the beast intently, his eyes glowing green as he scans the monster to assess its actual power. The system interface updates, confirming to everyone that this thing is actually a highly dangerous, high-tier C-rank beast. Seeing the massive, bleeding hole in Gong Ting's shoulder, Yasmin Kai urgently yells at him to get medical help. She pleads with him to halt the exam so they can pull him out, warning him that this beast is totally out of his league. Gong Ting flatly refuses, gathering blazing fire magic in his hand as he completely rejects the idea of backing down. Chen watches in absolute shock as Gong Ting presses his flaming hand right against his bloody chest, using the raw heat to painfully cauterize his own wound. Powering through the sheer torture, Gong Ting fiercely shouts that this fight only ends when one of them is dead. No hesitation. And check this out, Gong Ting leaps high, bringing his blazing sword down to finish off the crippled mantis demon. Meanwhile, outside the sealed dungeon, Silas Lin, leader of the Imperial Guild's King Squad, assesses the vanished gateway. He calmly explains that this lockout means a highly intelligent monster is operating inside, a beast that purposely lured the humans in before snapping the trap shut. Director Gong Shan panics, desperately asking if they can force the gate open since the kids are still trapped inside. Silas coldly replies there is only one way to escape. Someone on the inside has to hunt and kill the dungeon overlord. Desperate for any silver lining, Director Gong Shan tries to rationalize the situation. He reasons that since a standard D-rank dungeon caps at a C-rank overlord, the trap group should still stand a fighting chance to defeat it. Silas instantly shatters his hope. He reveals that the initial D-rank reading was just a fake mask, a trap designed by the Overlord to hide the dungeon's truly lethal nature. Piecing the clues together, Silas realizes this exact dungeon is the trap behind all those missing awakeners his team has been searching for. With a grim look, he tells a terrified Gongwan that the entrance right in front of them is actually a highly lethal B-rank dungeon. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, the massive insect attacks relentlessly with its lethal scythe-like arms. Gong Ting holds his ground, blocking the heavy strikes with his blazing katana. He leaps back to dodge a sweeping slash. The moment the beast winds up for another strike, Gong Ting vaults high into the air. The monster misses completely, burying its razor-sharp arm deep into the rocky floor until it is completely stuck. Sensing a perfect opening, Gong Ting yells out that the monster is finally trapped. With one lightning-fast swing of his blazing sword, he slices the creature's head clean off, letting it roll across the stony ground as the others rush over. Yasmin stars in absolute shock. Honestly, who can blame her? Seeing Gong Ting defeat an overlord completely solo proves his strength is unreal. Nearby, Ivan focuses a green healing glow into Sato's injured arm, asking if he is recovering. Sweating, Sato expresses his gratitude for the timely help, but Sato's relief vanishes the instant he checks his smartwatch. He panics, yelling to the others that his device has lost all reception and cut them off. Yasmin and Ivan instantly check their own gear. Yasmin confirms her signal is totally gone, while Ivan grimly points out that even their GPS compass is completely dead. Sato panics, demanding to know exactly when the camera drones went offline. Gong Ting looks back in pure confusion. But then, the headless mantis slowly rises right back up. Out of nowhere, the headless beast lunges straight at a stunned Gong Ting. Chen steps in, unleashing a storm of golden lightning that cuts the bug into tiny pieces. His system confirms the kill, granting him tons of experience. Still shaking, Gong Ting demands to know how that thing was still moving after he literally chopped its head off. Chen calmly explains that this mantis was never the actual overlord. It was hypnotized the whole time, allowing its dead body to keep moving. Chen orders Gong Ting and the examiners to leave immediately, warning that anyone could be the next target. Defensive, Gong Ting asks how Chen could possibly know that. Sato angrily yells that Chen has lost his mind, insisting a C-rank dungeon only ever has one overlord. He argues that the high-tier monster they just sliced up has to be the boss, because nothing else makes sense. Before Chen can even reply, his system screen flashes red with critical alerts about a highly lethal creature nearby. Suddenly, brace yourselves, a massive wave of mental energy blasts through the cavern, instantly hitting Yasmin. Ivan, and Sato's eyes begin to glow with an eerie pink light as the true Overlord's hypnosis takes total control of their minds. Realizing his warning came too late, Chen quickly taps and activates a wireless earbud. He instantly recognizes that strange, pulsing sound wave. In his past life, he saw the Demon King Wrath use this exact frequency to effortlessly mind control and butcher millions of innocent people worldwide. He turns around to see Yasmin, Ivan, and Sato marching forward in perfect, terrifying unison, completely entranced. Certain that this dungeon's secret boss is tied directly to Wrath, Chen coldly decides to face the monster head-on as he tails the hypnotized examiners deeper into the dark. Chen's system continues to flood his vision, with warnings about lethal creatures waiting up ahead. The group soon walks into a massive, creepy cavern packed with glowing green egg sacs, where giant dark snakes guard a mysterious cloth-covered figure. Chen remains completely immune to the beast's mental frequency, all thanks to the counter-frequency track playing inside his earbud, a direct countermeasure he prepared specifically for Wrath. But knowing the defenseless examiners could literally drop dead from the sheer mental toll at any second, he decides to put the boss down immediately. The creepy creature senses their presence. Its chilling voice echoes through the cavern, hungry for their warm flesh. Chen just glares back with cold eyes, ready for battle. In a flashback to his childhood, a battered and bleeding young Gong Ting stood over his brother Gong Chung after beating him mercilessly with a broken stick. Watching the brutal scene, their cruel father, Gong Lin, calmly congratulated 8-year-old Gong Ting on his victory. Sitting relaxed at a luxurious dining table, Gong Lin casually explained their family's brutal golden rule. The winner earned the right to eat, while the loser, little Gong Chung, had to kneel on the cold ground until sunrise. Left outside, a bruised and beaten Gong Chung kneeled obediently as his empty stomach growled from hunger. Later, Gong Ting secretly sneaked out to his defeated brother and handed him a piece of bread. Terrified, Gong Chung whispered that their father would brutally punish them if they were caught. Ignoring the risk, Gong Ting firmly tells his brother to shut up and eat, but his quick act of kindness is immediately discovered. He gets viciously slapped and forced down onto the floor, trembling in fear as his father looms over him with a whip. Standing over his beaten son, Gong Lin asks if he understands why their family holds so much power today. He proudly boasts that it is because he has never lost a single fight. Drilling a ruthless mindset into his son, winners make the rules and losers are forced to follow them. Still defying him, young Gong Ting asks his father if beating him means he gets to make the rules, and Gong Lin just laughs. Years later, a heavily beaten Gong Ting collapses flat onto his hands and knees, coughing up blood next to his shattered sword. He angrily asks his father why he refused a fair, honorable duel. He demands to know why his father ordered Silas Lin to step in and attack him instead. Completely unbothered, Gong Lin smirks and says his true strength is not in his own hands, but in his absolute authority over others. Looking down at his defeated son, he says the world does not run on fair play, but on one brutal truth: you must win. He continues drilling into Gong Ting that the method never matters, only the final result. As a member of the family, he must always be number one, even if it means completely throwing away his loyalty, his family, and his own dreams. Gong Lin coldly finishes his speech, stating that winning is the only reason Gong Ting is even allowed to live. Those brutal words echo back from his childhood, scarring Gong Ting with the permanent belief that survival depends on absolute victory. And back in the present, this is where things get pretty crazy for our group. They stand before a massive monster overlord, surrounded by giant snakes and glowing green egg sacs. Somehow, Chen remains completely immune to the creature's mind control magic because he prepared a special blocking audio track in his earbud. He knows he must face the Demon King soon. Knowing the hypnotized examiners could die from the immense mental strain at any second, he decides to slaughter the beast immediately. But right before he can strike, Gong Ting suddenly grabs his wrist and desperately whispers for him to stop. To break free from the monster's mind control, Gong Ting violently digs his fingers directly into his own chest wound, spilling fresh blood. Gasping heavily from the intense pain, he admits he has no idea how Chen resisted the mental trance. He explains that hurting himself is his only way of keeping his mind clear, urgently warning Chen that a reckless attack will give away their position and get them killed. Sweating heavily, he points out the endless glowing eggs surrounding the monster's throne. He warns that if they trigger the nest, they will be swarmed by dozens of C-rank monsters, making survival impossible. Looking at the trap, he realizes this cunning overlord disguised its lair as a weak dungeon to lure in unsuspecting awakeners. Because of this trick, he is absolutely sure the monster will eventually come straight to them. He proposes a new plan: they should play along and stay totally still. The exact second the overlord gets close enough, they will launch a coordinated surprise strike and kill it together. Chen is actually pretty impressed, admitting he did not expect Gong Ting to think so logically under pressure, but he still completely rejects the plan. He warns Gong Ting that waiting is a death sentence because this specific monster does not even need to move to kill them. He explains that the overlord does not need physical attacks with just one single thought, it can force its victims to end their own lives. And look at this, right on cue. The hypnotized examiners are already preparing to end their lives. Sato pulls out a saw, Yasmin points a gun at her head, and Ivan starts choking himself. Acting instantly, Chen uses his insane lightning speed to strike all three examiners, knocking them safely unconscious before they can hurt themselves. This sudden movement immediately alerts the Overlord. Realizing its prey is resisting, the monster angrily declares that its food has been ruined. Reacting to the threat, the Overlord triggers the glowing green egg sacs, causing them to violently burst wide open. Dozens of deadly blade-armed mantises crawl out of the eggs as the Overlord orders them to slaughter the intruders. As the deadly horde surrounds them, Gongting realizes their stealth is completely blown and it is time for an emergency backup plan. Drawing his sword, he steps firmly in front of the unconscious examiners. He orders Chen to grab the three adults and escape, promising to hold off the monster swarm on his own. Chen is stunned by Gongting's selfless decision to sacrifice himself, even though Gongting openly admits he cannot defeat this whole C-rank swarm alone. But he insists on one thing. He can buy Chen enough time to escape with the rest. Slamming his blazing blade against a rushing mantis, Gongting shouts that he is taking responsibility for this mess. It is his fault for forcing that stupid duel and dragging everyone straight into a fatal trap. The sheer force of that attack is insane. It overpowers Gongting, easily sending him flying backward. He digs his sword deep into the dirt, just to stop sliding. Gasping for breath, Gongting desperately argues that since he caused this, he should fix it. But Chen steps forward, realizing he might have completely misjudged his rival's true character. Right then, his system initiates a class transition. He coolly reminds Gongting that they both agreed to the fight. Instantly changing into his level 24 Lightning Assassin class, Chen conjures a crackling dagger of pure golden electricity. Hemmed in by swarming mantis demons and the Overlord's vibrating aura, Chen channels his blazing golden sparks and casually announces he has a way out. Bleeding out, Gongting immediately shoots down any thought of trying to fight. He warns Chen that the Overlord's raw power is on a completely different level, estimating the monster as a high B rank or maybe even an A rank nightmare. He begs Chen to grab the passed-out examiners and run, insisting it is their only option. Chen agrees the monster is an absolute nightmare, but points out a massive flaw because the dungeon doors are locked down. If the path out was still clear, the Imperial Guild's rescue squads would have already broken in to save them. Locked in? That shocking realization hits Gongting with a wave of absolute dread. Chen closely watches the quiet Overlord, calculating how to handle this deadly situation. If this creature is truly a rank, its combat power must be close to that legendary Phantom Lion King he faced in the Dread Spire. Suddenly, without warning, the swarm lunges. A mantis leaps straight at him, but Chen casually blocks its heavy weapon with his lightning dagger. Another beast drops from above, causing a terrified Gongting to scream for Chen to watch out. Before the strike can land, Chen and Gongting coordinate their glowing swords, slicing through two charging mantis demons in a single heartbeat. An entire sea of screeching mantises suddenly surges forward to overwhelm them. Clutching his heavily bleeding chest, Gongting grinds his teeth, knowing they are facing far too many enemies to hold off. It is just a countdown until they are swarmed, but ignoring the terrible odds, Chen concentrates his focus. Drawing from his speed class, he materializes several crackling daggers of pure golden current between his fingers. With a quick flick of his wrist, he hurls the blades, impaling a row of charging monsters all at once. And watch this, he triggers his Flash God's skill, zipping into the swarm like a bolt of lightning. Cleanly decapitating multiple beasts in one breathtaking dash, he leaves Gongting, watching in total disbelief, convinced this should be completely impossible. Assassins are supposed to have terrible base strength, making them completely useless when dealing with massive enemy crowds. And yet, look at him. Chen effortlessly slips past a giant scythe. Gongting suddenly spots the truth: every single stroke of Chen's blades targets a fatal weak point. He realizes his rival is completely overcoming his class's low-power stats by using extreme speed and flawless precision. Watching those flickering afterimages, Gongting finds himself completely stunned by the sheer velocity of Chen's movements. As Chen clears out the remaining targets in a tempest of electrical strikes, Gongting realizes his rival's speed is easily a rank or higher. Fired up by Chen's incredible mastery, Gongting regathers his strength and tightly grips his blazing sword. Could they actually make it? Annoyed by their stubborn resistance, the Overlord finally steps in. It concentrates a massive vortex of dark pink energy, preparing to launch an immense boost. The shadowy energy blankets the remaining insects, significantly boosting their physical power and speed. The boss screeches at the supercharged bugs to rip Chen to shreds, while he stands ready, weapons crackling with light. A buffed-up monster lunges to smash him down, but Chen leaps right over the attack, dicing the bug in midair. The battle gets completely chaotic. A determined Gongting yells for him to hold on while preparing his own sword, as Chen pushes his body to the absolute limit. He unleashes a lightning storm against the buffed insects, when suddenly, a mantis appears right behind him. Relying on his ridiculous reaction time, Chen vanishes into thin air to escape the fatal swing. He blinks back in, dealing a rapid flurry of counterattacks, but his strikes slide harmlessly off the bug's hardened armor shell. The furious mantis retaliates with a devastating strike. Chen manages to block it, but the raw power of the impact sends him sliding right back. Gasping for air, he realizes the Overlord's buff has jacked up these monsters' stats, pushing them straight into B-rank territory. He notices their outer shells have become as tough as solid iron, meaning there is no way to easily pierce their weak spots. You can tell they need to completely shatter that armor first. Behind him, Gong Ting yells out his thanks, knowing Chen just bought him the precious time he needed. Giving up his speed, stamina, and elemental control without a second thought, he channels all his remaining power into raw strength. Flames burst around his sword in a massive, exploding pillar. Leah,